Hurrdat Sports presents the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla.
1 ball, no strikes. Clevenger deals. Massey drives it deep to right field. Sheets is back onto the track at the fence. Leaps. It's gone. Michael Massey does it again. The Southside Slayer strikes once more. Blackburn's 3-1. And that is hammered deep down the right field line. Ball is hooking. If it stays fair, it's gone. And it is fair. And a 3-run homer. Yordan Alvarez goes deep, and the Astros go up 3-0.
That means a lot. Like Coach Rhule said it this morning when he came in to be staff. Like, this is going to be my first game in one of the most historic venues in college football. Like you got to slow down and think about it for a second, because we got a game. But dude, it doesn't get any cooler than that. You know what I mean? It does not get any cooler to represent the end, running out there in the tunnel. And I'm looking forward to the tunnel walk and going out there and seeing 90+ thousand out there. You know what I mean? It's going to be a surreal moment for me. And I know the guys are raring to go. So if you can't get up for this game, then you don't need to be here.
Welcome into the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla on a Thursday.
What up?
Damon's just over here dry scooping pre-workout.
Man, had to have it.
Just getting it done.
Had to have it.
Just make sure you don't have any like powder around your mouth and nothing.
Yeah.
You don't want to.
Old Tyrone.
don't want people to think something else is going on here at the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. We are live on the H&H Chevrolet stage.
How quick
studio.
before you think it hits me?
I'm actually kind of curious to see because I basically drink an energy drink every morning,
right?
Which I'm sure is very healthy for me.
You're at your average. You have 3 different drinks over there.
Yeah, that's usually
kind of weird.
That's usually what I go with. I do have a couple backup cans of soda in the backpack as well, just in case.
It is.
So our I guess he's our boss, Chris.
Oh yeah, CG.
Yeah, so the other day I'm in here watching the Husker game before we do our.
I don't know how you do that.
Well, so I have to do the post game show here.
No, I understand.
So it's like we go right after the game. I don't know what else.
Yeah. Even when I used to do the post game at the other place.
Oh no, you would like roll up at the last minute.
I mean millisecond.
Yeah, no, I know. I know. I was there.
Yeah, it's like. Yeah, I just don't know how people watch it like that. I mean, good on you. Some people are like normal.
Oh, I just emotionally tweet the entire time.
I am not normal.
I just rage tweet my way through the whole thing.
Man.
But no, so he comes. I'm talking to him the other day during the Husker game, and he was saying something about, oh, why don't you just grab yourself a soda or whatever? And he's like, I was like, I don't go back there. I was like, I don't really, I was like, I work here, but I don't really work here. You know what I mean? Like, I don't work in the restaurant.
Well, yeah,
even though we do the show in the restaurant.
They're actually cool about it. And so's the general manager. There's some other people that aren't cool about that, right? Like, I mean, Chris and Bill get it.
And so he was like, yeah, just go grab yourself a soda or whatever. And I was like, oh, I don't really do that. And he's like, well, what do you do in the mornings? And I was like, I bring my own stuff. And he's like, why do you do that? We have the ice and we have the sodas and stuff. And I was like, I don't know. I don't like relying on other people for my habits. Because it's almost like an OCD thing for me where.
Oh, clearly.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you don't have.
Can I just tell you this? Not since especially after dishing this yesterday, which if you missed it, catch up on it. It's good stuff.
Yeah. I'll tweet it out later this morning.
Can I? So this drives me crazy.
What's that?
But I'm not really minding my own business, so I shouldn't be saying anything.
Okay.
It's not my deal. I'm trying for the life of me to figure out why you put ice in that drink every day to let it melt.
This one here?
It drives me up the wall.
So
I look at that by the end of the show, and it is some watered down version of whatever you wanted in there.
I don't have a good answer for that. I'll be honest with you.
You're with me though, right? Like it melts in there.
Oh, 100%.
Every day.
Because by the time I get through the energy drink and get to the fountain soda that I get from whatever place that I had breakfast this morning, then yes, it is melted by the time I get there. which is why I put the napkin under it, because I know I'm trying not to get the table messy, because I know what's going to happen.
It like it does something to my spirit. And I know people like that are around me,
It
like
hurts my heart,
like shaking their heads like this. Dude
no, I get it, because
has been sitting on the I have
most
weird
situations,
mannerisms.
in most situations, I will only drink like iced cold beverages.
Yeah.
Like, and so I don't know what it is. It's a fair
I'm
fair
so
critique.
bad. Like my proportions have to be right.
Yeah,
and I get it. You probably want more for no, you don't care about money, but like you want more bang for your buck, I assume. But if you're not gonna put, I get it. Some people don't put ice in there because they want the maximum amount of liquid.
Yeah.
But if you're going to put ice in there, why only put like X amount of cubes so it's gonna melt in the first 7 minutes?
So I don't.
Why don't you just get a watered down version?
Well, because I don't control the amount of ice in here, right? Like that's on the people.
Oh, you don't go to the self thing?
No, I'm driving through.
Oh, of course.
I don't get out of the car. Come on, man. What do I look like?
See, listen, I can't do that.
You don't do drive-throughs?
No, I do. I just don't get drinks in.
Oh, because you want control over your ratios.
Yeah, and they don't serve anything that I would drink.
Fair. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I drink a lot of diet soda, so
yeah.
So drive-throughs are right up my alley for that.
If I want bubbles and I'm in public, it's club soda.
Oh yeah, no, I drink a ton of just Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, Diet whatever.
Yeah. So I just had to get that off my chest.
No, that's fair. It's
in about an hour that ice is going to be gone, and I'm going to be like, "You're not drinking that,"
and then I will drink it.
No way,
dude. Did you not? Do you not watch every day? I drink it every day.
Kinda.
Most days.
Yeah, kinda.
You know. So sometimes this will really bother you.
Do you just want to tell me to mind my own business?
No, I don't care.
I mean, it's fine. I wasn't going to ever say anything.
No, it's fine.
But it's kind of like a running lane. Like you gave me an opening. I tried to hit the
gap.
Yes,
just go boom, boom.
Yes, I did. Which, by the way, we continue to leave yards out on the field.
Yeah, we need to work on that. Need to work on that. Listen, it's baby steps here. First, we hold on to the football. Second, we try and hit the holes that are created by the offensive line here.
Got some work in last night.
Yeah?
Yeah, I got some work in last night.
Yeah, how do you feel?
It wasn't me.
Well,
they got some. How do I feel
about the work they got in?
I'm cool.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm excited because
you in a good mood or what?
I am actually. I stay in a good mood for the most part. I think this sets up this is for me, right? Like this is not a for everybody else thing, but again, I'm just wired a little differently. This game sets up perfectly for me how I like to think, because you get a chance to come home. It's friendly confines. It'd be the first time for some of these guys, and you heard Coach White and those guys talk about it like they think it's a big deal. And so the setting, a couple of naysayers, some will say it's the vocal minority, a lot of criticisms. Players had a couple of answers in the media scrums this week that let me know that they heard it a little. And you have a chance. Let's say, Sims is less than 100%, or he doesn't start, or whatever happens. See, they have a chance to play with some character here. Other folks in other facets of the game have to step up. And if you're truly OOU, and you're one of us doesn't have to be a singular person. It could be a side of the ball.
Yeah.
It could be a portion of the game. Like it's all encompassing. So I think it's a really, really good opportunity to rally. And I'm not trying to go all 94 K-State, right, where the defense is like, just hold it, like, we got you.
Is that the tournament game?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Like, we got you.
Yeah.
But it's something like that. Everybody has a chance to it's an opportunity for everybody else to be better. And I like that, because you get a chance to do it at home. And if this is a workman-like team, then this is a workman-like game. Like this is going to be a dirty, grimy. It's going to be a grimy game.
Like, you feel good if this game is like 24-10, like not sexy.
Yeah, I mean,
just kind of grind it out.
10's too many.
Okay, let's say
27-9.
Okay, sure.
Right?
Sure.
Not that big of a difference.
Well,
but
I mean,
in my head,
giving field goals instead of touchdowns.
Yeah, in my head, I feel better.
I get it. No, that's fair.
It's kind of setting up like that because they bristled up a little bit.
I kind of feel
if they want to fight, they're going to get one. Because Northern Illinois is going to play hard.
I feel the same way, but kind of for different reasons.
Okay, you want it to be pretty?
No,
flash and dash?
no. I'm mostly focusing. Shocker of all shockers here. I'm mostly focusing on the quarterback position.
I know you like to blame everything on the quarterback.
Not blame, just responsibility.
Don't blame Shane.
There's a for. I believe
this was lemon. This is not a great flavor.
Well, none of the flavors are good when you just like down the hatch. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wasn't supposed to do that in public. I forgot, so I had to go back out.
I'm under the impression that Jeff Sims isn't going to play. That's just the vibe that I get.
Yeah, I don't know why people say that, but I get it, I guess.
I mean, that's how I'm operating. And if
you think they're looking for a convenient excuse?
No, I think the high ankle or the ankle is maybe a little worse than that.
Did not look good on the replay.
No, it didn't.
Do you know what I actually thought it was?
What's that?
I thought it was his foot.
Oh yeah, like
it's not supposed to go like
a Liz Frank injury on the outside there. Yeah. You got to be careful with those metatarsals. Yeah. But
I've broken one.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
They're hard to heal too.
Oh yeah.
Because you don't get a ton of blood flow in that area.
Can I just tell you, I broke mine so long ago. They put me in a wooden. It wasn't even a boot. It was like a shoe with Velcro.
Yeah.
Like
they used to have like a wooden shoe and was like Velcro over the top of it.
In the 8th grade.
Yeah.
So that would put me in, I don't know, 86 maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
They've come a long way with the boots.
Going into my freshman year. Yeah.
For what I don't know, I don't have any inside information. That's just the vibe I get looking at the injury, kind of listening to him talk a little bit. It feels like they don't want Northern Illinois to know that he's not playing, but I don't think he's playing.
Yeah, I don't really think Northern Illinois cares. That's the funny thing.
Maybe they don't, but that's how coaches.
Do you know what I mean?
Sure. Well, because if it's Heinrich Harburg, the game plan's probably not a ton different. Like, yes, it's going to look different because they're different athletes, right? And they have different skill sets a little bit, although they overlap.
Although similar athletes, a little different skill sets.
Right.
Similar athleticism.
But I think play call and concept-wise, it'll be pretty close, even if the distribution of run, pass, QB run, whatever is a little different. I don't think you're preparing for entirely different things if you're Northern Illinois, regardless if it's Sims or Harburg. But I am kind of I do think it's sort of a best case scenario for this staff, though, in the sense that, okay, it's not a hopefully serious injury, right? Ankle, maybe take a week or two, but probably okay long term, right? This isn't an Aaron Rodgers situation, right? Knock on wood. But you get the opportunity to either shut the fan base up and be like, hey, this is what Heinrich Harburg looks like. Now do you understand?
You can't get. I had a feeling you can't get into that.
Why not?
Because you want to say it's your personality. You want to say careful what you ask for, or
not really. Just like it, because you don't really have a choice here. Like if Jeff Sims is injured, you don't have a choice, right? You have to start somebody else.
Yeah.
And so it's not really.
So you can say, is this what you want? No, because I think you wanted to sit him down, right? So you're okay. You want to see.
I do want to see Harburg.
You want to sit him down. Okay. Yeah.
I want to see what it looks like because then I have better context to know. Oh, this is why they're sticking with Sims, or maybe even they can see. Oh, maybe Harburg's a little more of a gamer than we thought, right? Maybe we like him a little bit, but maybe he's better in. Because there's certain guys like that. You have guys that are great practice players that can't translate it to games. And then you have guys that are mediocre practice players that are gamers.
It's funny. We just had this conversation about one of our guys yesterday.
And I don't know. Maybe Heinrich Harburg is not either. Maybe he's not a great practice player. Maybe he's not a gamer. Maybe he is. But we don't know, right? He just hasn't taken very many snaps as a college quarterback. And so I'm a little excited to see what it looks like where he's probably got the full week of reps with the one, if that's the direction it heads. And it would give him an opportunity to be prepared to be successful if he's got that in him at this point in his career. That's all. It's not like I told you so or is this what you wanted or whatever. It's just it almost forces their hand to give a guy an opportunity, and I'm really curious what it looks like. more than anything, because I don't know that Heinrich Haarberg is the answer. When I say I think you need to set Jeff Sims down for a minute, it's not because I think Heinrich Haarberg is some otherworldly guy. Like, there's been times where that's been the case with backups where I was like, I think this guy might be a little better. Just full disclosure, I felt that way about Cody Green and Taylor Martinez. I thought that if you gave Cody Green an opportunity to be a real one and not just put him at the 3-yard line against Oklahoma, then he'd have an opportunity.
That's a deep cut. I don't even think people remember Cody Green.
I do. Ended up at Tulsa.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I truly felt that if he actually got an opportunity to be a real starter, that he might be better. Listen, he wasn't as explosive as Taylor Martinez for sure, but he may have been more consistent and therefore better for Nebraska, right?
Aren't we something like I remember now that you've refreshed my memory. Backup quarterback has been the most popular guy for a long time. It's so easy for the luster to wear off.
That's just not Nebraska, though. That's
I understand.
That's that's a saying for a reason, right? Most popular guy on the team.
Yeah, and I'm totally cool with that. So
but that's not what I feel about Heinrich Haarberg. Is my point.
Full disclosure, it does happen everywhere. And listen, I'm not gonna.
You know what?
Sometimes I talk to the fan base, but a lot of times it's just for perspective. Mm-hmm. But I'm not in the habit of telling people how to be a fan.
Sure.
Because I think one of the beautiful things about being here and in this state is the fan base.
Absolutely.
So I don't knock the hustle. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm still at the point where I would say, well, the other side is people could not care.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's
I typically don't operate in extremes. That's how like irrational people like argue, like or you say you and I will be driving and I'll say, gosh, I said, why do you always roll through stop signs? And you go, well, I just won't drive anymore.
Yeah.
No, that's
not what you said.
Yeah, there's some middle steps there.
There's a huge gap between, hey, maybe we actually stop at stop signs.
So I'm not saying
you don't get to drive
anymore. The fervor is too much. Well, we cannot be fans.
That's how toxic people react to things, by the way.
It's unbelievable.
Like, it's a really toxic
and
thing.
I always have to say to people, listen, there's steps in between.
Yeah. Almost all of life happens in between your extremes. Right? Like, almost all of it.
It's like, oh, yeah.
But that's not how I feel about Heinrich Haarberg. I don't think he's – I mean, maybe he's good. I would love it if he's phenomenal. That'd be great, right? Yeah. But I'm not sitting here saying, hey, I think you need to sit Jeff Sims down because Heinrich Haarberg is the answer. I'm saying you need to set Jeff Sims down against Colorado because he seemed like he was kind of shook by what was going on.
Yeah.
At a certain point.
I think the game within the game for me personally is I find myself now cheering exceptionally hard for Jeff Sims. So I have to be careful that it doesn't cross over into at my team's expense, right?
Yeah.
So that's just a personal thing.
I would love it if he rallied. Like, if he cleaned up the interceptions for the most part. He had one bad throw against Colorado. He cleaned up the interceptions from week 1 to week 2. If he cleans up the ball handling from whenever he plays next, whether it's week 3 or week 4 or whatever.
We keep saying ball handling. You mean the
snaps,
the timing
the
of the
snaps. I kind of include the Gabe Ervin handoff in there too. I don't know if that was his fault or not.
Don't listen to Joe Klatt. He's great, but that
not on him.
No.
Okay, fair, totally fair.
I know one thing. Like if that were me as the running back, I would clearly say that's on me.
Well, and Ervin did. Right in his
that's on me.
But I didn't know how much of that is covering for his quarterback and how much of that is he actually feels that way.
Remember, so we kind of do this in the media. We kind of think that we parse through everything, all the words that somebody. I'm just telling you, like full disclosure, this is a dirty little secret. When players and coaches talk at that podium, they know people can hear them.
Sure.
They also know that players in the locker room can hear them.
Right.
So
that's why I thought he might be covering for Sims.
There's a good portion of the time they're just telling the truth.
Well, fair, but also
because just think how that would land with Sims. Hey, man, I'm going to go out there and just say it hypothetically. I'm going to go out there and say this was on me. But I mean, hey, listen, between me and you, we know it was on you.
Well,
nobody wants that.
No, not that part of it, but there's a difference between going to a guy and be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go out on the podium and lie for you," and just being like, "Hey."
You don't talk about it. You just admit it.
You just say, "Hey, like he got it close enough. I should have got it, even if he didn't get it to the right spot."
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because both things can be true. Yeah. Like Jeff Sims could have not gotten it to where he's supposed to, and Gabe Ervin still could have held onto the ball.
Yeah, sometimes you see a lot of times that happens. Backs go to make cuts or moves or bounce
a little before they got the ball.
They get off track before they get the handoff.
Or I think you see it a lot sometimes with sort of either the play fake or the zone read game where you're trying to decide whether or not to leave it. Yeah. The back thinks you're leaving it, and so he starts to clamp down.
Yeah.
Or the quarterback starts pulling away before before the back is like. So there's things that happen there that can make sense as to what we saw.
It's really interesting how just in the moment, man, in that post game presser, like we wanted Coach Rhule to say something definitive about it, and he's like, "Yeah, you know what?" He said, "Yeah, you got to be careful with the quarterback, right? When he says things about the quarterback, right?" Yeah.
I mean, in that moment,
and he just was not going to go there until he knew.
In that moment, I actually don't care if he says anything about Sims.
The question was asked, so everybody other than Ravi, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, I
right, because the question was asked generally about the quarterback, so people care.
No, yeah, it's not that I don't care about the position. It's just I don't care that that's what his answer was, because I understand. I almost expected it to be that way, because he kind of said the same thing about the interceptions, right? In week one. He was like, I need to kind of go back and look at it. I'm not really sure.
So you think it's typical or atypical for coaches to have their composure when asked about specifics in pressers?
Well, I think it depends pretty dramatically on the coach, because some guys get emotional. Some guys are a little bit more buttoned up in terms of how they respond to things. But I don't think it's uncommon, at least it shouldn't be, to not throw a guy under the bus in the moment, right? Like that's
we've seen some bus throwing.
We have, right? But
we've seen a lot of it.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
Right. I would rather, even if I want an answer, deep down, I'd rather him say, I need to look at it before I make a judgment on that, because I understand. Not football, obviously, but I've coached and even calling games, right? When you're watching a game and doing a job at the same time, you don't process it the same way as when you're just watching a game, or if you're watching film later on.
100%.
Like, I can't tell you when I
tweet during a game, I'm not tweeting as though I'm watching.
Right.
I'm tweeting it as though I'm working.
Right. Yeah. And so, I mean, when I did the Creighton game on Christmas Day, it's the first basketball game I'd called in well over a decade. That thing went by so fast. Mm-hmm. And I looked up and I was like, oh, this thing's about over. Mm-hmm. And it just was a blur, right? And it slowed down a little bit the second time. But even then, they were beating the brakes off of St. John's the second time. And because you're so in the moment and so dialed in, it still felt like a close game until I looked up and I was like, oh, they're up by 30. It's hard to process in the moment when you're doing a job. So I get why he says it that way. Wyatt, hang on right there. We will get to you in just a minute.
Mitch Sherman, Brian Edwards.
We'll also
come back and set the show.
We'll also set the show up. We got into it right off the bat here because DB was hating on all my cups.
You just drink a lot.
More of, not like that, man. More of Benning and Lulla here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We'll be right back in 5 minutes. We'll be right back in 4 minutes. We'll be right back in 3 minutes. We'll be right back in 2 minutes. We'll be right back in 1 minute. We'll be right back in 30 seconds. Hurrdat Sports presents the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla.
No, I don't have any second guessing about any of my calls on third down. There was a couple early that, going into it, Coach and I discussed just, hey, we're backed up a little bit. Let's be smart. Let's get it complete. As Coach, you'll hear him say, like, let's get the ball and play and see if we can catch and run. So other than that, I'm good with all the calls that I had on third down.
Here we go, hanging out on a thirsty Thursday with my guy Damon Benning. I'm Ravi Lulla.
A whole lot of liquids.
It is a thirsty Thursday. Look how many beverages I got. You can get a hold of us on the Warhorse Sportsbook hotline. That's where Asian Wyatt has called. That's a self-given moniker, by the way. I just want to make that very clear. He refers to himself that way. I believe that's also his Twitter handle. So I'm just trying not to get in trouble here. Wyatt would like to talk about Nebraska QBs. What do you got, Wyatt?
I was calling into the QB debate show, and
isn't that all the shows this week?
Well, shoot.
Well, because I was hanging out at the low-hanging fruit store, and I saw Ravi there we're in the Asian hour. We're picking out some Asian pears, and you're on the south side. I was on the far east side. It was good. And
oh no, he didn't.
Well, the only reason I'm calling because since I was hanging out there, made me think. In defense of the fan, and not saying this right because obviously, but I think the reason sometimes fans are feeling the way that they do, it's because we're like pulling out Sims or just even now for series. It's because we've seen it before in other teams and throughout some game in football history. So I think that since the fans have seen it before, they're wondering why isn't it happening now.
Okay, so here's the deal. Let me ask you this, Wyatt, because you're exceptionally smart.
Yeah.
Why do you expect, or why do we think fans expect Nebraska staff to be able to hit the reset and start anew when fans can't hit the reset and start anew? It's like I hear this a lot the last couple of days. Well, we've seen this before. And in my head, I'm saying to myself, well, okay, so why do you think the players should if you can't get out of the past, why are you mad at the players if allegedly they can't get out of the past?
That's the same reason we play fantasy football, because, it's because there's no, from the fans real life, there's no real consequences. So
I got you.
Can,
that's a fair question though, right? I'm not taking a shot. I just think it's weird how in one vein I hear we've seen this before, but we expect the players by the time week 3 rolls around with a staff that's been there since December, that everything's like this fresh, clean slate. Like we can't even clean slate our mind, let alone our actions.
Yeah, no, we just need to get in the matrix, and we'll be good.
Hey, are you a red or a blue pill guy?
I don't know. Give me a purple one.
Hey,
I can jump back and forth every now and then.
I have some. I'm gonna tweet you a picture. You know what I have in the fridge currently? Some
sort of
short rib pinwheels.
Nice.
Oh,
yeah. I don't know how I'm gonna make them yet, but I'll
take it.
I'm gonna fire it over to you on social media. You let me know what you do with it.
All right, I'll have to actually use that Twitter that I created.
Nobody can do
All
that.
right, buddy. Good talk.
Right.
That's my dude, man.
That's our friend Wyatt.
Am I can I say that without fans being mad at me?
Say it again for me. I'm trying to process it, so say it again.
So the fan, I heard this a lot, right? It was, gosh, we've seen this before. It looks the same. Like as if to explain why there's kind of this overreaction. And I said, well, in my head, I'm like, well, fudge. If you can't reset and look at something for what it is currently, why do you hold the people accountable that you're mad, that we're frustrated about, that they can't reset and stay in the moment accordingly?
So what does a reset look like for the
coaches?
It
Means when Coach Rhule says, I'm 0-2, I'm not the guy that's been here for such amount of time. He's trying to tell you start new. He's trying to tell you start with us. That's what we're trying to do. That's what we're working on. So start with us.
The difference for me is with the coaching staff, obviously none of these guys have history here, right? And so it's a really different dynamic between not just obviously the roles within the program, right? Fans play a role within the program in a certain sense, right?
Don't overthink it. At its core.
Yeah.
Why do we want somebody else to do something that we're not capable of doing?
I mean, if I'm being totally honest, it's probably because we think, well, they're getting paid for it, so they should be better than us.
Even the players?
I mean, especially with NIL, I think some people think that way.
I
don't
know about that.
But I think with the coaches, I think it's, well, hey, they're paid to be better than us. They should be better than us. That's what I think. Because I get a lot of times where, obviously I didn't play college football or anything like that, and so I get on, I'll have opinions about football and stuff like that, and then every once in a while you'll have somebody pop in. It's like, well, you think you know better than the coaches, or you think it's like, well, no, but I have an opinion still.
Right.
I make observations, and the fact of the matter is, coaches don't get it right 100% of the time, right? They are people. They make errors in judgment as well, and frankly, because I've been there as a coach in a different sport, I understand sometimes you don't see the forest for the trees.
Right.
Like sometimes you're too close to the situation that you don't have a good perspective on it. And so sometimes, and I'm not saying this is the case with Coach Rhule, but sometimes
I would just have a hard time being mad at somebody for, not knowing how to cook if I couldn't cook.
But if you paid that person to cook for you,
no, I'm not even talking about the staff, right? Because I get the whole same poop, different staff, yada yada yada, and I'm thinking to myself, you have skin in the game, but you don't have skin in the game. So just imagine what it's like if you've actually been through it. Like it's much more difficult. You can just start anew with your thought process.
Sure.
They're still trying to have to go out and produce results. So if it's difficult for you, why do we downplay the ease in which they can transition to?
I mean, it's probably a mistake to do that.
Do you understand the point, though?
I do.
Okay.
But I also think it goes back a lot to what we talked about on the Dish and Ish pod yesterday, was because of the emotional baggage that fans bring from season to season and from coach to coach and from era to era.
Remember, the difference between an excuse and an explanation is ownership.
Yeah, and listen, I think some people take ownership and I think some people don't.
Okay, so that baggage, yeah.
No, but you ask why it's different, and that's why it's different. Whether you decide to do anything about why it's different or not, that's on each individual person. But the reason it's different and harder for fans, or they don't expect, is they don't think that the coaches have the emotional baggage with the situation or the emotional investment of the situation that fans do. And maybe that's true, maybe it's not. I think it depends on the coach. I think it depends on the staffs. But they certainly don't have the history of emotional investment that fans do. Does that make it right or wrong? I don't know, but I think that's the answer to your question.
Okay.
Want to set up the show real quick, and then we'll get to you, Nate, here. Coming up at 8 o'clock, we've got Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. We'll talk to our guy, Brian Edwards, see if he can make us some money. Michael Bruntz from Husker 24/7 at 9. And then we will wrap up the show with, I don't know if you've heard of this guy, as Johnny Rodgers. Won a little trophy.
Johnny.
Won a little trophy they like to call the Heisman. He'll be joining us to wrap up the show at 9:45. Let's get to Nate real quick on the Warhorse Sportsbook hotline. Nate, you got about a minute. What do you got?
Hey, yeah, how's it going, fellas? I'm recently new to Omaha and everything, but look, I just wanted to ask Damon, man, like,
welcome, Nate.
What has happened to football, man? Everything resembles 7-on-7 from like pee-wee all the way up to professional, man, and I just don't really think that Matt Rhule's style of play would translate to the Big Ten, and why won't he just like run the option or something? He got some thoroughbreds back there, man. Just run the ball. And I just want to get your thoughts, Damon. Thanks for taking my call.
All right, Nate. I appreciate it. I actually think he does want to run the ball.
I think he played. I agree with Nate that a lot of football looks like 7-on-7 now. I don't think that's how Matt Rhule wants to coach.
I'm telling you. Well, that's a deeper discussion. He's right.
Yeah.
Look, I've coached youth football forever.
Yeah.
We play a different style than almost everybody else, and found a way to make it work.
Yeah.
Because I think it's hard for people. We're going to ask Coach Peterson tomorrow. He runs the ball.
Mm-hmm.
He runs the ball out of two-back, and it's hard on people. And I'm going to ask him why he thinks that is.
Let's get to a little bit more of that next here on Benning and Lulla.
The show will be back in 4 minutes. show will be back in 3 minutes. The show will be back in 2 minutes. The show will be back in 1 minute. The show will be back in 30 seconds. Hurrdat Sports presents the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla.
He's very much a football guy. I don't know if he comes across like that all the time, but he's a very smart kid, works at it, diligent in his work. He's grinded since the spring of just improving his craft at that position. And it was good that, it's bad that Jeff got a little banged up, but it was good that he got to get out there and get some reps. I think that'll help him.
Yeah, Robbie. What'd I do?
I don't know.
Wrapping up hour number 1 here on the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla. You can reach us like Wyatt and Nate did on the War Horse Sportsbook hotline, 888-638-4876. Nate got into an interesting topic there.
Yeah, I do think Nebraska wants to run the ball.
Yeah, so do I. I don't think I don't think he was right on the Rhule part of it where, hey, just run the ball. And I get he kind of got in the option and whatever there. But you mentioned that is kind of the trend that's been happening.
So do you know why I think it is?
Why is that?
I think it's hard to attract kids.
Yeah, it's a more fun style.
I've thought a lot about this over, because they've just done this forever, right? And I remember when Nebraska was running the option and they were winning in the 90s, a lot of these high schools kind of tried to implement what they were doing. And
there's only one left.
As it went kind of by the wayside, offenses became a little bit more innovative. The offensive rules changed. And I think people thought it was easier to get kids. You can only play one running back at a time. Typically, you can play 4 wide receivers. It was just more fun. And I use that term loosely. right?
It's still a hard game, but yeah.
But then with the birth of 7-on-7 and its explosion, I mean, people get mad at 7-on-7. It's fine. I can take it or leave it. I think anytime you get a chance to run routes and catch balls and throw balls,
I think it'd be good.
It's probably not going to hurt you, but it just what happens is you just have to know that sometimes it's not really like that.
Yeah, it's not a direct translation.
No,
for sure.
And I'm telling you, and I'm not just saying this because we won. I told this to one of the coaches from the other team. He's a good buddy. We talk football all the time, and it's not like I'm talking to him about game plans, but I'm honest, right? It's last Saturday, and he's getting ready to. He's going to go do something with the fam, and I said, I kind of wanted to help out, right? And I said, we chart these things like these. We call them picture catches, where when guys catch footballs, it's almost like they take a picture, like they hold it out there for you.
Sure.
Right. And we have these drills that we do for players that like to catch footballs like that. It's in essence, it's like a break wrist drill.
Sure.
We're not literally trying to break your wrist, but we're
trying to break your hands apart.
We're playing through your hands every single
try and get them to drop the ball.
Go back and watch our PBUs the other night on Friday. Like, it's intentional.
Yeah. Because
I think what 7-on-7 has helped do, and it's not just 7-on-7's fault, so you have to be able to take it in context. You don't pay a price for not catching the ball and putting it away. Right. Remember when you used to warm up and you watch guys warm up, you catch, tuck, catch, tuck, and they just do it over and over and over and over again. You just don't. You see the elite guys do it when they're like playing catch on the sidelines, but now you see guys practicing one-hand catches and these.
They do the OBJ stuff.
Just weird, non-functional football drills, and I'm like, a lot of that is because it's 7-on-7 is fun.
Yeah.
It's electric, guys. You get to play a lot.
Fast paced.
It's fast.
Yeah.
You don't get hit.
I'd say it doesn't hurt.
Right. So I don't begrudge 7-on-7, but I do think coaches that want to attract kids want to play in a style
that more closely resembles that.
Where kids can come out and you can get it's just attractive. It's not sexy to get in two back. And
the 3 yards in a cloud of dust.
And it doesn't even have to be that.
Right.
You watch. I keep using Millard West because it takes the shine off of Nebraska. Right. And I've said this for years. They have a new offensive coordinator, but Coach Peterson is still there. And they used to do this they had a quarterback, Nebraska, who played in the late teens, and they would get in 20 personnel. They wouldn't use a tight end. And they still had inside run game because they'd keep you honest with the fullback. They could get out on the edge because they could pitch. And Nebraska carried the ball. And he was really, really good. I think Turman was their offensive coordinator then. And it's just miserable. When I first met Coach Secor, our offensive coordinator, I said, man, I hate your 20 personnel. It's just hurt, like as a defensive guy, because you can run the ball, you can run the ball downhill, and you can still get to the edges. Now, and I said this before, talking about Minnesota and Colorado, when you get in one back run game, and you play with 10 personnel or 11 personnel, and you don't have the threat of a downhill run game, you get to play defense differently.
Yeah.
I mean, even our youth guys know.
Right.
Hey, one back offset in the gun. Is there a threat of downhill run game? And they'll tell you it based on formation. And most times we don't even honor it.
Right. Yeah.
We don't even honor it defensively. And so I think some coaches don't do it more because they feel like you get into the analytics about points per possession and explosive plays, because statistically it's hard to refute that over time. Those are the teams that typically win a lot of games, but you have some good players too. So I think coaches kind of shy away from it. They want to tell you that they want to run the ball, but a lot of times they aren't. It doesn't get them who they want in terms of recruiting. Right. Like I always tell people, like, imagine if Iowa And they had one in Keegan potentially, couldn't stay healthy, and he couldn't get good quarterback play. But imagine if they had like a big time wideout. When they had a couple, they were winning double-digit games, right? But it's hard to get those guys,
especially when you play that style.
Right. It's like,
well, I mean, it's like Nebraska.
It's going to be hard for them to get those guys for a second.
Well, I mean, whether it's now or back in the day, you look at. I mean, Nebraska had some good receivers off and on throughout the 90s.
Look what's happened to Ohio State.
Yeah,
a lot of good receivers.
Yeah, they can't get anyone else anymore.
But you're not. You've lost the identity of what's going to win you games against good teams, because it's hard to practice toughness when you're in the spread. I've seen a couple teams do it. Florida in the late 2000s with Tebow,
Urban,
really good with power spread.
Yeah, power spread.
Ohio State really good with power spread for a while.
Yeah,
it's there aren't a lot of them.
Right, power spread's kind of an uncommon.
Well, that was Frost's goal all along.
Right.
Is he wanted power spread.
Which I think is a really appealing. I think it's a really appealing style because it kind of blends the best of both worlds, theoretically, but it's hard to pull off.
It still has to somehow involve two-back downhill run game, whether it's back in Q, whether it's two backs in the backfield.
Right.
Like you still need some sort of double at the point of attack with two-back run game.
Yeah, to keep people honest on the inside, right?
Yeah, because otherwise guys they
flow to the outside and it becomes too easy to cover.
But it's hard to coach, I think, at the youth levels, and it's not sexy. And so a lot of times young people don't want to play like that. So we've seen kind of the one-offs, and we see the Harrison Juniors and the Olaves and Waddle and
Garrett Wilson
and those guys. Yeah. And I mean, I think people want to throw it around the yard.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, when Northwestern was playing in the Big Ten Championship, it was elite skill that kept them from winning,
absolutely. Right.
Iowa was elite skill on the outside that kept them
even
from
what
winning.
Michigan State when they go 2015,
skill on the outside
they were missing
from winning. When you look at college football playoffs, it's typically who's more dynamic on the outside. So it's hard for coaches not to unknow that.
Here's where they skip a beat though, right? Is look at the teams that actually are winning the national titles, right? Georgia, elite on the outside, also elite on the lines.
Yeah, and I would venture to guess, I'm telling you, this is kind of funny. I bet you people couldn't name the last 4 years, people couldn't name 3 starting wide receivers for Georgia. Not during the year. You can now in its culmination.
Yeah.
But not when the game rolled around.
No, probably not. They weren't as sexy on the outside as like Alabama was.
Right.
Alabama
how is McConkey so wide open? You know why? Because they can run it down your throat.
Right. Yeah, because they had the really good running backs. They had the really good offensive line. But it was the same thing with Alabama, right? Even when they switched to kind of the Lane Kiffin era of Alabama football, where they switched over to like Jalen Hurts and had an actual quarterback, and they started bringing in these crazy wide receivers, they still had your like Derrick Henrys of the world. They still had
an element of power. It just keeps you honest,
right? And or whether it was the element of power run, whether it was a mobile QB that helped keep you honest as well. But the thing that people don't ever give enough credit to, especially now with Alabama, because it does look sexy now, or it has, is they were always the best team in the country on the lines, on both sides of the line.
100%.
Always. Now, Georgia's way better, I think, on the defensive line than they have been on the offensive line.
Here's the thing. Can help me out here. 888-638-4876. Can you be – how many times do you say this about an offensive lineman? Like, did you watch DJ Campbell? Did you watch Campbell from Texas? Just mauling guys.
Yeah.
Can you be a highly touted, like a well-talked-about offensive lineman and be known for just pass pro?
Ooh, I think – you can be well regarded. I don't know how well known you can be.
So maybe the more teams throw it, that's kind of the lineman that they attract.
Yeah.
Right? Because it just doesn't. At first, I'm just asking that question out loud. It doesn't seem like when we talk about great offensive linemen, we just talk about his ability to pass pro. So maybe those teams need to be running the ball to attract the linemen that they want to win championships. That's my point. I don't know. I'm just asking it out loud.
That's an interesting question. Coming up next, we'll get to Mitch Sherman from The Athletic.
The show will be back in 4 minutes. The show will be back in 3 minutes. The show will be back in 2 minutes. The show will be back in 1 minute. The show will be back in 30 seconds. Hurrdat Sports presents the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla.
100%. And, he had a great day Sunday, great day yesterday. So, he's going to keep working his way back into the lineup, working his way back into the lineup. He's very, very physical and gives us a lot of options back there. I'm pleased with the entire room. They've done a nice job. They've been productive. Gay's been productive. Ramirez been productive. So they're off to a good start.
Kicking off hour number 2 on the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla. We are joined now on the Warhorse Sportsbook Hotline by our friend Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Mitch, how are you this morning?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Good, Mitch. Good.
We're doing all right. Obviously, the big news of the week for Nebraska revolves around the quarterback position, whether you want to talk about the play and the turnovers of Jeff Sims or the injury and whether he's going to play or not. It's kind of hard to separate those two at this point. But when you're thinking about the game, did we just lose Mitch?
We did just lose Mitch.
Okay.
Oh, man.
I was going to get there on a question eventually. Well, listen, sometimes you have an idea of how you want to ask a question in your mind, and you just kind of got to find it. There he is. There he is.
You should just ask him.
So, Mitch, as you're looking at this game, what are you kind of thinking about more in regards to the quarterback position? Is it trying to clean up the turnovers with Jeff Sims, or is it kind of the general health of the quarterback room?
And you'll have to unmute your mic there, Mitch.
Yes, here we are. Well, I'm thinking about both of those. You got to get past one before you can talk about the other. And Jeff Sims is going to have to be on the field Saturday before we can talk about his issues with turnovers. But I do think that the turnover issue is something that needs to be considered and addressed and in the front of the mind, no matter who the quarterback is. I mean, the same, it could easily carry over and get contagious and involve Heinrich Haarberg or Chubba Purdy if Nebraska's not careful. I mean, some of the stuff that happened in the first two games with the turnovers clearly was just a Jeff Sims issue. Some of the decisions that he made with throwing the football, the struggles to hold on to the snaps. But then, as we've heard repeatedly from Nebraska players and from Marcus Satterfield and from Matt Rhule this week, it's not about one guy. It's about the whole offense and their ability to function. Some of the stuff that was happening with the motion on the fumbled snaps against Colorado, it involved multiple players. It wasn't just Jeff Sims. Receivers and tight ends can always do more work to, they can be open and do a better job in that way. So yeah, it's, to me, the biggest issue here is cleaning things up offensively. And, you've got to do that whether Jeff Sims is out there or not on Saturday night.
So, Mitch, it's interesting. How much do you expect, regardless of, not regardless, because it's going to kind of matter, if Nebraska does something different at quarterback, is there any sort of proof of concept if the offense looks relatively similar? Or should it be different with the signal callers?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to play to the strengths of your personnel, and that's going to be something that we see through the years. Whomever the quarterback is, I mean, Nebraska has a quarterback recruit at Bellevue West in Danny Kalin, who's a different guy than Jeff Sims, obviously. And
I think he's different than anybody on their roster.
Yeah, and if there comes a day where he's the quarterback that's coming out of that huddle, then the offense is going to look different than it does right now, than it does with Jeff Sims in charge, that it would with Heinrich Haarberg or Chubba Purdy in charge. So, and the receivers are going to be different. The running backs are going to be different. You play to your personnel, and taking that back to just a very current position. If Heinrich Haarberg is out there taking the snaps in the first quarter on Saturday, then it's not the same offense as Jeff Sims. And I think they're going to downplay that. If we were to ask Matt Rhule today about how the offense might change with one quarterback to the other, I think he's going to say that they're going to do a lot of the same things, and the concepts that they teach are consistent between quarterbacks. And there's truth there, but you're also going to play to the strengths of your signal caller. And you saw the first play when Heinrich came in against Colorado. It was a third and medium distance, and he just took it and put his head down and ran over somebody and got the first down. There'll be a lot of that with him in command of the offense. If that day is Saturday or whenever it might be, they're going to use his physicality. They're going to use his athleticism. He's got a burst that
he's
of
so
speed
much
that
thicker.
Yeah.
He's got that big kid neck now. Like
yeah.
You could tell he was preparing for the long haul to play in this conference this year.
Yeah, and even if it wasn't a quarterback, I mean, I think Heinrich, he wants to play quarterback and looks at himself as a quarterback, but he understands that there's various paths that his career could take, and he doesn't want to. I don't think he wants to completely limit himself either. And maybe there's one scenario where he could have ended up changing positions, and he also could be the starting quarterback for the next couple of weeks and maybe beyond. If Heinrich comes out, this is going to be an interesting situation. If Heinrich Haarberg comes out and plays really well against Northern Illinois, or maybe he plays well against Northern Illinois and Louisiana Tech, well, then what do you do if Jeff Sims is healthy? We're getting down the road, but it's one thing right now to say Jeff is the starter, and when he's healthy, he's the starter, because nobody behind him has really done anything or won any games. But if that day comes where the backup has put some really good stuff on tape, then you're in a completely different spot. I didn't think at any point in the game on Saturday at halftime or even before Jeff got hurt that they were close to pulling him out of that game. It's just too early. If this was his second year or third year, and you'd seen these problems repeatedly, then it's a different story. But you're talking about game 2 of a new regime for him and a new coaching regime, and it's they haven't even played at home yet. So it's it would be a different story if Heinrich puts something together here over this week or next couple of weeks.
Mitch, this is something we talked about earlier. You mentioned you didn't think they were close to pulling Jeff Sims against Colorado. If you were in their shoes, the way the end of that first half went, would you have maybe sat him down just for a series or two? Because it seemed like it was kind of getting to him a little bit, I thought.
If I had JJ McCarthy sitting behind him, then yeah, I would. But no,
maybe they do. Haarberg's played like 17 snaps. We have no idea what he is.
Well, they seem
right.
every day.
Right. No, if I was in Matt Rhule and Marcus Satterfield's position where I had been the coach there for 6 quarters and where we're trying to start something new and build this thing on a rock solid foundation, like they continue to say, in this for the long haul, they're doubling down on what they do. I would not pull my starting quarterback, the guy that you invested so much into from December of last year when they recruited him all the way up into August 31st when that opener came. I realize that he has cost this team, and that the mistakes that have happened when he's been in charge have really cost this team. Some of the turnovers and the timing of the turnovers, I wrote about some of that today. All 6 of the turnovers that he's been charged with committing have occurred in the first 2 games with Nebraska either tied or down by 3 points. And those are the kind of turnovers that swing games. And you stack them on top of each other, and they're the kind of turnovers that lose games. Still, I would have faith in him and show everyone in that locker room that you're not going to make changes like that. And I recognize that they made a change at the running back position and they've made changes at other positions, but the quarterback spot is just different. And I don't think it's a double standard. I think it's just the reality of football that the quarterback spot is different. And I wouldn't have made a change down the road. Sure, I would think about it, and I'd look at every option, but you have to take into consideration who's playing behind him and also just where you're at in building this thing.
First couple of weeks, Mitch, I kept hearing this, Nebraska doesn't have guys that can get separation. They don't have this outside the numbers. And no, to my naked eye, I'm like, guys are open. We've got to take some shots. We heard Coach Rhule say, I'd like to be a little bit more aggressive downfield. How much of that do you think is freeing for a guy like Marcus Satterfield to say, hey, listen, you know what? All right, let's take some shots here. And it sounded like he was almost doubling down again in his belief that conceptually he likes the direction of the offense. It's more about the execution of it.
Yeah, I think the direction of the offense has been positive enough to have Nebraska sitting here at 1-1, or maybe even 2-0, if your execution was just tip top.
Right. The whole tactical versus
Yeah.
Tactical versus technical.
But it's left some things to be desired for sure. The execution has left everything to be desired, and I think the scheme and the plan has left a little to be desired as well. And part of that, is stretching the field. A big part of it is stretching the field. I like the way through 2 games they've run the ball. I like their physicality. The pass protection, has been a little hit and miss, but I'll believe what they say about how that's been more communication stuff than physical mistakes. The big thing to me, is opening up the offense. And I'm interested in your take, Damon and Ravi, on what to turn the tables here a little in this conversation. I listened to Coach Rhule on Monday, and I think I asked the question about the freshman receivers. It was a follow-up to him talking about the receivers, and I asked what it would take, what he needs to see in the games for those guys to get more reps in the future. And he went back to practice and said, it's not really about the 4 or 5 reps that Malachi Coleman and Jalen Lloyd are getting on Saturday. It's what they do every day in practice. And then he said,
was that in response to them having to back up all 3 spots with the next
right. And then he said that they have to be able to learn all 3 positions before they feel comfortable putting them out there. And I wonder, and I recognize what he's saying there is, again, you're building this thing on a solid foundation, and they want these players, these receivers, to know everything that they are going to be asked to do before they put them in positions to play a big role in the offense. And I wonder if there's not a balance there where you can take Malachi Coleman and say, all right, you need to work in practice on knowing all of these positions. If we have to put you in the slot, we want to be able to put you in the slot. But for the time being, for the short term, we're going to teach you the outside receiver spot, and we're going to teach you 2 or 3 routes that are going to help this team right now. And this is what you're going to focus on for these next few weeks. And yes, we're not sacrificing the future. Down the road, you can still learn all the positions, and the offseason is going to be huge for you. But right now, man, we need you to run these 40-yard post routes. Like, is that in the coaching world? Is that realistic?
That's pretty good. That's pretty keen. And maybe it was because your question and the follow-up. But I think he gave you 2 answers, right? So this is just my opinion. I think he gave you they have to learn multiple positions if you want to be the next receiver up, right? If you're my next best receiver, I don't want to have to – other guys are coming too. So I think he's speaking to the Fleeks of the world. I think he's because those guys will tell him, hey, coach, man, I know all the spots. And then Coach Rhule probably doesn't want to go back and say, listen, but he's really good at this, so I want to get him here. So there's that duality of it, right, where he's talking to his players too, because then he gave you the answer almost at the same time where we found some specific things that Jalen Lloyd can do, like on the reverse against Minnesota. So we want to do that too. I think it sounded to me like he was answering you, but also talking to his players too, because he knows guys like Fleeks that have spent all this time knowing multiple positions, but may not have the upside, still needs to be able to compete and do what they do. And he also wants Malachi and Jalen to learn multiple positions. But at the end of the day, he did say, hey, situationally, though, we got to find some spots where just those guys can work. So I don't think he wanted to compromise the big picture to get to the specifics, but he knows that those guys got to play.
Yeah, you can do both. I think you can do both of them. You can do both.
And I think he's really trying. I mean, I don't know how many things you'll see Malachi do other than some skinnies or go routes. I mean, I did see him run a little dig route, but I would guess, Mitch, it would be very situational for his packages, because what happens is
it's great.
Sometimes when you don't, the OC or somebody will say, okay, well, what receiving package is in the game? And you just hope that those guys know the full gamut. Or sometimes if you're fortunate enough to say, hey, I want to run this play, put this guy in the game. Like that actually happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, do you think Travis Hunter runs the whole playbook for Colorado on the offensive side?
But I do think their concepts with Mesh and Verts is fairly simple, right? And it looked really simple for 2.5 quarters, right? It looked simple enough where it had Nebraska on top of their game. So there's some
and I think
there.
Right, and I think also as an OC and a head coach, you don't want to be too transparent. You don't want to show the defense what you're doing just because you have a certain personnel package on the field. But Malachi can come in as a decoy too. Jalen can come in as a decoy too. Just because they're in the game doesn't mean that they're the target and that they're running a 40-yard go route. So I think as these two home games, or at least I would hope that these two home games are going to present Nebraska a chance. Maybe they can get up in that range of closer to 70 snaps, 70 offensive snaps. And then I think if that happens, it'll open some things up for a lot of people, but especially for those young guys to actually make an impact.
And turning the ball over and not getting off the field on third down.
Right. Yeah, that's where the numbers
it's got to cost you what, 15 snaps a game roughly right now?
At least, yeah.
On the turnovers, yeah. Yeah, the turnovers, the rest of that drive, just doesn't happen, obviously.
Yeah. Mitch, I'm curious because with what you brought up with the offense and the wide receivers, it sounds almost opposite, and I don't know that it is, but when I hear those things put right next to each other, it sounds almost opposite of what we heard from Tony White saying, hey, we have to get things as simple as possible so we can get playmakers on the field. Is it different just because it's defense in your mind, or is it just different philosophies between the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator?
I don't think they have a lower standard on the defensive side. And, Rhule said it's easier to play defensive line as a freshman than it is to play wide receiver. There's not as much to know.
Oh, 100%.
And then Tony comes out yesterday and talks about how complex it is to know what they're calling and what they're doing and how they're moving. I made the comment to him about how it's hard to watch this defense at times and even know what positions people are playing. He said they got Jamari Butler into the game against Colorado after he missed the opener with an injury, and they had some other guys playing Jack linebacker. They had Mekhi Gabair playing Jack linebacker and MJ in chief, but they wanted to get Jamari in, so they just put him at a defensive end spot. And I could probably watch that game 8 times and really not know that Jamari was playing a position that was new to him or new to him this year. And that's the beauty of it, because neither does, and I mean, a more of a trained eye. I understand if an OC from Michigan is watching that, they're going to see it. But if you're out on the field in that moment or on the sideline coaching in that moment on the other sideline, you're not going to recognize that very easily. It's hard to even know where what positions they're playing. So although it may be easier to play D-line as a freshman, if you're Cam Lenhart in this scheme, than it is to play wide receiver, it's still not easy because there's a lot to know about who's around. You don't just have to know your job. You got to know the jobs of some guys that are around you too.
Mitch, when you're listening to, you're good at this. When you're listening to offensive guys talk versus defensive guys talk, are you ready yet to kind of have to say that there's a style or a manner or ways that they deliver that's very specific to their sides of the ball? Do the defensive guys kind of sound the same and the offensive guys kind of sound the same regardless of what it is that they're talking about? Is there fluidity?
I haven't noticed a big difference yet. And it's been a couple weeks with games and camp. I thought everybody was really singing the same tune. I think that'll probably happen
within their own nomenclature, right? Not just in its totality. Like, are the offensive guys kind of saying the same thing about their offense as the defensive guys are saying the same thing about their defense? Like, are their styles the same?
Oh yeah, I think so. But I don't see a big difference like in team-wide stuff between the way that an offensive guy talks about their journey this season versus a defensive guy. But yeah, within the defensive groupings, when the defensive players, what I've heard them say, it sounds similar. Like if you talk to Isaac Gifford and you talk to Omar Brown and you talk to Nash Hutmacher, there's similarities there in the way that they talk about this defense, like what it wants to do, the kind of chaos and just various like principles in the defense. And the same thing with the offense. Sure. You can go who Ben Scott and Gaber and Thomas Fidone this week talked
I
on
thought
the
quietly
offensive
Ben
side.
Scott was pretty good the other day.
He was a little surly.
Yes,
which is good.
I'm with you, Mitch. Like he was not happy about.
How do you feel?
Criticisms.
How do you feel if you're watching that and he comes in and he's got a big smile and he's laughing and happy about everything? I mean, not everything, but he's just in it. Seems like he's in a good. I'd rather see him in a bad mood after the first two games. And Satterfield was in, and he was pleasant and willing to give answers, but he wasn't in a great mood yesterday either. And that's not like crowning these guys. It's not like saying, "Oh, all is forgiven," like everything's great because they're mad. Mm-hmm. But I'd sure rather see him like that if I'm Nebraska, if I'm aiming to get victories, than I would to see like this. Oh, this is not affecting them.
Yeah, Ben Scott is dialed in. You could tell
he was pretty intense. That's great. That's great.
I think he was. It seemed like he was mad about like the quarterback stuff because he even said,
"Yeah,
well, I know you guys say a lot. There's a lot of stuff out there," and I just was like, "Ooh." And I asked somebody, maybe it was Sam or somebody, I go, "Are we okay with that? Or is that just kind of the cost of doing business?" Because it didn't bother me, but because we're kidding ourselves if we think that they don't hear things, right? Like they're well aware.
He said, "You guys can say what you guys want to say, but we know." It's pretty common, phrasing from players, especially when they've lost a game or two, and that's fine. He wasn't like he was calling anybody out in particular. And if he wants to do that, he can do that. That's fine too. Like this is big. We're adults here. This is, so, with Ben, the other thing he said that was interesting to me about the quarterbacks, I think Ben Scott has a hard time kind of going into like coach speak or player speak mode. I mean, you can see how he feels when he's talking, and his answer about Jeff Sims was kind of interesting. He said, to paraphrase him, that he's our guy, and it was like until he's not our guy, he's our guy.
Yeah.
So. He wasn't like attaching himself to the Jeff Sims wagon by any stretch, but he's saying we support him. We support him right now. Yeah. And we'll always support him. But I'm not going to be heartbroken if they go a different direction. That's kind of how I read it.
Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Mitch, we appreciate you, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Mitch.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Good stuff there from Mitch Sherman. We'll be back with more Benning and Lulla coming up next.
We will be back in 5 minutes. We will be back in 4 minutes. We will be back in 3 minutes. We will be back in 2 minutes. We will be back in 1 minute. We will be back in 30 seconds. Hurrdat Sports presents the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla.
I think the key with anything on defense is to make sure that it is in its simplest version so the young men can absorb it and then they can execute it on the grass. You know, that's kind of the word that's being used around here this week is the execution part, because so many times on the film you see guys are literally 6 inches away from making game-changing plays. Well, how do you do that? You know, you gotta focus a lot more on the execution part, you know, and making sure that they truly understand the why. Why do I have to be tilted at this angle? Why do I have to be tighter on this tackle? What am I expecting? And so those 6 inches are the difference between a 40-yard bomb we give up or a sack, cause fumble, game-changing play. So I think everything goes down to making sure that we install things in its simplest form so the young men can go just do it on the grass and understand the why.
Halfway through the show here on the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla. Damon Benning is doing something weird over here. I don't know what's happening.
I get heart palpitations listening to that.
You get
buzzwords. Know the why.
Yeah.
Big why guy. And like the details matter. Alignment, assignment, technique.
Do you want to know the why?
Why?
Why you should head out to Pratt Dental in North Platte, Nebraska?
Because I got to get my teeth fixed.
Because they got the BioClear method. It is a less invasive and less time-consuming method to fix many aesthetic dilemmas in a permanent way. And like I said, less invasive than traditional treatments such as crowns. Dr. Pratt is the only certified dentist in Nebraska to use this method, give them a call, 308-221-2800. That's Pratt Dental in North Platte, Nebraska. Before we get to Tony White, because I think we both have like little mini man crushes on Tony White.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
It's fair.
You said something that kind of made me a little bit mad in the Mitch Sherman interview.
What'd I say?
So when I was talking about Hurrdat, right? I go, they don't know what he is yet. He's only played like 17 snaps in games, right? Mm-hmm. And you go, well, they see him in practice every day, which is true, right? Didn't Kyle Shanahan see Brock Purdy in practice every day?
Yeah.
And he was the third string quarterback last year?
Yes.
So, like, not always what you see in practice every day is what you see in games, right?
No, and I don't talk in extremes. But you're also not going to see something miraculously different than you have been seeing. I'm
not saying miraculously different.
Isn't that what we said about Sims? Well, you've been seeing it, right?
I'm not saying miraculously different. I'm just saying.
Then you're splitting hairs if you want to be upset.
No, I'm not splitting hairs. I'm saying there is track records of guys, and maybe they're the outliers. I understand that.
Well, so let me tell you something.
Okay.
There are a few basic skills that you know when you see him.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, you can either throw the ball or you can't,
mm-hmm.
or you can run the ball or you can't.
And they think he can run the ball, right?
Everything else is nuanced, right? Is he a gamer? Is he a bedwetter? Does he have the yips?
But if you look at Heinrich Haarberg and the way they talk about Heinrich Haarberg and the fact that they felt it necessary to get him on the field in some capacity.
What do you think I was saying?
That he's not good.
I'm not owning that. That's on you.
Okay,
I didn't even intimate it.
So what were you? No. Okay, so here's how I heard it.
Okay,
is I go, hey, they don't know what he is because they haven't seen him extensively against live action, right?
Uh-huh.
And you go, well, they've seen him in practice, which sounded like refuting the fact that he might be better than.
I'm not owning that.
So what did you mean then? If I took it wrong,
they're not going to be surprised by whatever it is they see. Whatever it is that they see, I think they have a very good idea of who he is.
For good or for bad.
Right.
Okay. That's fair. I took it wrong. That's fair.
Yeah, I'm not owning that.
No, that's okay. That's why I want to talk about it.
I mean, you can ask for clarity, but listen, I'm not going to be responsible for that if you don't ask me to expound.
I did ask you.
Okay.
We were in the middle of an interview with Mitch. I didn't want to do it at the time. I put a little pin in it and say, hey, we got an open segment at 8:30. I'm going to ask him about it.
I think you just like fighting.
Because I feel, well, sometimes.
Shane, do we have, can you punch, I think it was David. Can you punch David up? Because we can't see David now.
Yeah, our screen's a little.
Can you punch him up, David?
Is he still there?
Shane?
Yeah, he's here.
Okay. Robbie, say hello.
Hey, David, what do you got for us?
Hey, what's happening, fellas?
D, what's up, buddy?
Hey, man, I found you. I still got some loyalty to my boy Gary, but.
Oh, I hear you. So it's good to hear from you, man. My high school guru. What's up?
Hey, yeah, you know it. Well, I got a question. I do want to talk some high school, but I also want to. I got a question.
Okay.
Robbie, why do you hate Jeff Sims?
Why's that? Why you cut out there? What?
Why do you hate Jeff Sims? I mean, did you like?
Yeah. Yes, he did something bad. Robbie is traumatized. Get him, D.
I would prefer my quarterbacks not turn the ball over 6 times in 2 games. That's all. That's all.
What was it? Was it Higher Learning or the program where they made Omar Epps carry that ball around?
That was the program. Great movie.
You know what's funny is I just started watching that yesterday. I'd never seen it before.
Great movie.
Is that the one where he ends up shooting a guy at the end?
No, that's Higher Learning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Wow.
Well, I tell you though, I think what we should do is whenever we get around Robbie, we should just drop a ball and see if he falls on it.
I will. I'm diving on that thing. I'm getting on the ground. Listen, I was a basketball.
Oh, David, you've been laying in the cut.
No, David, I'm a basketball coach, right? So if I see a ball on the ground, I'm diving.
Oh.
That's the only way I ever got to play. Is I was the hustle guy. So I'm getting on the floor.
Tried to scoop it to.
You test me. I'm getting on the floor for the ball. I dare you.
That's funny.
Hey, I would buy 20 balls and hand them out amongst your staff just to watch you do that.
Right?
Let's do it. I'm good. I'm getting on the ball.
Hey, did you go to the game Friday?
Which game?
Bellevue West and what's that?
No, yeah, I didn't. So I had talked to Gary last week and kind of told him that I felt like Bellevue West was going to get the game, but Truly, I didn't really feel that way. So yeah, I was just trying to make people interested in the game. You know, I went to the Papio South, Elkhorn South.
Yeah.
Thinking that was going to be a game, and that was not. You know, Papio South, Derek Jones got hurt, so ain't a lot you can do. You know, when you have probably one of your best players get hurt like that. You know, Elkhorn South just punched him in the mouth, and they just, you know, Mike Tyson always said, right?
Hey, do you like Ronner?
Game plan to get punched in the mouth.
Yeah. Do you like Elkhorn South's quarterback? He's pretty good.
Yeah, Ronner is good, man. You know, honestly, I didn't really. Obviously, I know about Ronner. I didn't really look in. You know, he's 6'3", 200 pounds. Like, he's a good sized kid.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't realize he had that body, you know, that he has, and you know, Willie Cross is. You know, they're going to probably make something with it. I'm a little worried about Elkhorn South, about their ability to get vertical. I don't know. I know Luke Hoskinson can a little bit, but you know, I do like the size. I do like the physicality of the team, but I'm a little worried about them getting vertical, not having Moeller Swan. That hurts them a little bit, but you know, Papio South's got some figuring out to do. I don't know what's going on with Derek Jones. He was walking around on crutches at the end of that game, so hopefully it's nothing serious, just a little ankle sprain. But you know, I guess we will see. But you know, what I wanted to talk to you about, besides the fact that Nebraska really needs to take a look at Tony Palmer out in South Sioux City. I mean, that kid had 3 carries for 160 yards. You got to be kidding me.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it was against Northwest, which I know that you got some, you know, maybe that kind of hurts your heart a little bit.
It does. It does.
But you know, Palmer, I seen him at a camp, and he's legit. Like, you know, he was one of the standouts at a red zone camp, and you know, body style, everything. And I think people need to give him a look. But what I wanted to do really is I wanted to get your idea. I want to get your thoughts on 3 games. Who you think's going to win? You got Millard South Gretna.
Okay.
Got Millard South Gretna. We got we have the U10 North Bend Central game.
I'm going to take North Bend Central there.
Okay. And then, of course, you know, the other game I'm going to go to, I know Sauter's going to be there. That guy's like a grumpy uncle, man. He's like the guy, you know.
You have no idea. You have no idea.
That is, but is that not spot on?
No, it's totally accurate.
That is so spot on. Oh my gosh.
He is funny, but he's kind of the guy, like, you show up at Thanksgiving party just with a few ready to go. Like, you know, hey, uncle, I'm gonna go buy this thing from China. What do you think about that?
He stays mad. Seriously.
Yeah, but he's so funny though.
He's the uncle that like pre-games Thanksgiving.
Yeah, but
who's the third game?
I'm gonna go to that Ron Colley Pierce game. I know Sauter's gonna be there.
God, that's tough. I will take. I will take Ron Colley. I'll take Ron Colley. Now, Gretna, Millard South, that's a coin flip. I'm going to take Gretna in a close one. 23.
Ooh, okay.
I'm going to take Gretna in a close one.
All right. I hear the music, guys.
Thank you for knowing what the music means, David. I appreciate that.
I like those schools.
Great call from David, even though he was roasting me a little bit. We will talk to our friend Brian Edwards coming up next.
We will be back in 4 minutes. We will be back in 3 minutes. We will be back in 2 minutes. We will be back in 1 minute. We will be back in 30 seconds. Hurrdat Sports presents the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla. Now, Vegas insider, senior handicapper, and fan of the cold Budweiser bottles, Brian Edwards.
It's got to be touchdown, touchdown, touchdown.
Brian Edwards.
I don't really love it.
Brian Edwards.
Were they using the cream cheese to butter the bagel?
Brian Edwards.
I'm going with the cowgirl.
Here is Brian Edwards.
As we get to Brian Edwards here on the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla, if you want to take his advice and go make some money, make sure you head over to the Warhorse Sportsbook and Casino in Lincoln, Nebraska, the best place in Nebraska to place your bets. Got to go in person to the casino and place those bets. Warhorse Casino, no bets, no glory. Brian Edwards, how are you this morning?
Doing good, gentlemen. How about y'all?
How can you not be there? Are you sending me breakfast or something with all that money you won on Colorado? You played them every which way but Sunday. I mean, what? It had to be a good start to your Saturday morning. Goodness.
It was, but it was very nerve-wracking there in the first half. That Nebraska defense shut them down, but eventually no offense for the Cornhuskers.
You played them 3 ways, right? Team total, ATS, and a half?
Yeah, so I went 2-1. They did not get to – I had them over 14.5 in the first half. That did not get there.
Sims tried to help you out there at the end of the half, get you a couple extra points. But
he did. So did he practice yesterday, by the way? Did he practice yesterday?
Yeah, he was active.
So he's probably going to play this week?
So I don't know. I honestly don't know.
I don't know how active he was.
Right.
He was a participant, but that's vague, right?
Yeah.
It's all about I don't want to be involved in that game anyway. I was just curious.
That's a night game too, and that's got a chance for the crowd to get good and
lathered.
bubbled
Right.
up because it could be an ugly defensive battle. They'll be playing hell's bells every 5 seconds in that place. All right, what do we got? Let's start with the NFL. You got a couple of. I love your player totals are always interesting because you got to do your homework.
Yeah, I hit the AJ Brown last week over, but it wasn't easy. I think he got to 76, and it was 69.5. I mean, we didn't talk about it on y'all's show, but yeah, because I don't even know that it was out yet. It's out early now because it's a Thursday night game. But you know, AJ Brown was the guy that I would take his over a good bit last year, and I just think you know, assuming he doesn't get injured, knock on wood, I'm just confident he's going to get the targets, and he usually produces. So last year, you know, he had a ton of, I don't have the exact stats in front of me, but you know, he had a ton of 100+ yard games, and would usually get to you know, the mid 70s pretty much minimum. I mean, you know, there were a couple of duds, but not many.
Brian, you want to stay with the NFL here for a second. You've got a couple teams heading maybe in different directions, certainly had different experiences in week one with Tampa Bay getting the surprise win, the Bears laying an egg. Bucks are minus 2.5 against the Bears. Where are you thinking?
Yeah, you know, you hate to, you know, overreact after one result. And look, if it was 3.5, it'd be a pass. But at less than 3, I wrote down Tampa Bay minus 4.5, which probably was an overreaction on my end. But if I just got to have Tampa Bay winning by 3 at home, I like that. I mean, Mayfield appears to be taking care of the ball. I mean, no turnovers last week and did a good job in the preseason. Not that I put a lot of stock in that. And you know, the Bears just did not look good at all last week, and that was at home. Now they're on the road, and let's not underestimate the heat of Tampa in early September, which is the equivalent of the heat in mid-August most other places. So that is a small factor in this. And look, the Chicago O-line's missing Tevin Jackson, an important starter, and they were not blocking that well for Mr. Fields last week. I like the Bucks minus 2.5.
Let's jump over to college. You got one tonight. Lines crept a little. I think it opened 12.5 maybe. Sitting right at 14. Navy, new offense, looks a little of the same. Few different wrinkles, throwing it a little bit more, which was kind of interesting. But they get to Memphis tonight, 14.
Yeah, you know, usually I would say a short week going against the triple option might not be a good idea, but these are conference rivals, and although Memphis had problems with Navy right when they first came in the AAC, Memphis is now on 4 in a row over Navy, 37-13 on the road last year, 35-17 at home 2 years ago. Memphis hasn't played anybody yet, but they beat the brakes off Bethune-Cookman 56-14. They went to Jonesboro. They beat Butch Jones and Arkansas State 37-3 on the road last week. Navy 24-0 win over an FCS foe. We saw what happened to them in week 0 against Notre Dame. Seth Hennigan, quality quarterback for Memphis, 51-18 career TDI-INT ratio and 26 starts. Now he's completed 73.8% of his passes this year. 4 touchdowns, also has a rushing touchdown. I think Memphis wins by 17-24, so I will eat the chalk in the standalone college game tonight.
Brian, I've been wondering, you know, I know you're a big Gators fan, and they're maybe not going the right direction. Your rivals, Florida State, looking really good. Does it help you out at all that maybe you feel like you can make some money on Florida State? Because I know you like them again on a team total over.
Yes, if I got to watch these dirtbags have success, at least I can.
These incredibly well-oiled machine Seminoles. Is that what you meant to say?
Yeah. If I have to watch them thrive, I can thrive monetarily with them. Okay, so this would be my favorite pick of the week, and it still might be, but and look, I don't trust meteorologists 72 hours in advance, which I checked the weather.com yesterday. I haven't yet this morning, but 22 to 25 mile an hour winds and heavy rain expected in Chestnut Hill. Hopefully that changes, But even if it is a monsoon, I still like their team total over 37.5 because they had 52 against Southern Miss with 10:26 left in the third. They had 66 with 11 minutes left in the game. Keon Coleman might be the best receiver in the country. Well, Marvin Harrison Jr., but Keon Coleman's playing as good as anybody. Jordan Travis looks great. Halfley's on the hot seat, and Boston College looks awful. They gave up 28 to Holy Cross last week, only win by 3. Lost to Nebraska's opponent this week. Or I'm sorry, they beat them in overtime, Northern Illinois, in week 1. But BC's bad. Look, if the weather clears up, this is probably my favorite play of the week. Even if it's a monsoon, I still like FSU's team total over 37.5 because they can just run it on.
They can run the ball, yeah.
They do whatever they want to Boston College's defense.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. This line came out before Jay Norvell was telling people when to wear hats and when to take your sunglasses off. I'm sure Prime already has all those fake chips on his shoulder. That's all he needed was for Jay Norvell to run his mouth. Team total for Colorado just 41.5.
Oh, man, I want to see that list of receipts Coach Prime's got in his office.
You going to tell me when to wear my sunglasses? My mama didn't raise you. Your mom raised you well? I don't even know why Norvell went there. Why? Why?
I didn't even see that he did that, but I love that he did.
Yeah, he said adults take their hat and glasses off when talking to other adults. His mother raised him that way.
As we saw last week, I think Shador takes these comments more personal than Coach Prime, so that's probably a good thing. Man. Look, man, I think you can bet Colorado any way you want this week. I was impressed with the defense. I know Nebraska's struggling offensively, and Jeff Sims was, giving them some gifts. But even the defense looked good last week. I love their receivers. I love their running backs. They don't even have McCaskill, the transfer from Houston yet. They say they might get him back this week. I think it's probably more likely against Oregon next week. But again, I think you could bet Colorado any way you want. I think the best way is team total over 41.5. Colorado State gave up 50 to Washington State in Fort Collins at home in week 1, and Washington State had 43 with 11:22 remaining. But I'm not against betting Colorado any way you want, but I think the best way, team total over 41.5.
I gave you a little bit of hard time about FSU. Your Gators do have a big game this weekend with Tennessee. I'm not necessarily a believer in Tennessee this year. Is there any play you like in that game?
Yeah, I'm going to go under 59, and actually I haven't even looked at it this morning. I know some books had moved to 58.5 late yesterday. As long as it's like 57, I'm good with the under. 21 of the last 26 Florida-Tennessee meetings have had 58 or fewer. The Vols defense looks improved. I know they haven't really faced anybody offensively, but they lead the nation in sacks with 11, second in tackles for loss with 25. It was a shootout between Tennessee and Florida last year, 38-33, but Hendon Hooker and Anthony Richardson are gone. I had high hopes for Joe Milton this year. I'm not saying I've eliminated those high hopes.
That offense is awful.
That's apparently they looked awful in the first half last week. But Florida's opener against Utah, 35 combined. Even against McNeese State last week, 49-7, 56 combined. I think Florida's a little better on defense. I think Napier wants to slow the ball, control clock, burn clock, run the ball, and I think he'll be conservative. The under's the play here. Just on the side, the Gators have won 9 in a row over Tennessee at home, 16 of the last 18, regardless of venue. And the Gators are 4-0, last 4 as a home dog, and 14-5 ATS last 19 against Tennessee. All that said, I'm just going under. I'll pass on the side. I want Tennessee to win by 3 touchdowns. I want to go get Coach Prime. He'll win me 5 natties in 10 years.
And you like UNLV catching 4 from Vandy, right?
No, opposite. I like Vandy laying 4.
Laying the 4 on the road in Vegas. All right,
against the Rebs. Thank you, Brian. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
Y'all have a great weekend, fellas. See ya.
Thanks, B.
More Benning and Lulla coming up next.
We will be back in 4 minutes. We will be back in 3 minutes. We will be back in 2 minutes. We will be back in 1 minute. We will be back in 30 seconds. Hurrdat Sports presents the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla.
Yeah, experience. I mean, you see again, like you can't. They're almost like what we do on defense. That you can't do all those things and not have that dude back there under center. You know what I mean? When you're in 14 personnel, you're in 13J, you're in 12J, then you go to 11, then you go to 21. I mean, with all the shifts, trades, motion formations, that you can't do that if the guy under center doesn't know what he's doing and what he's looking at. So he's a mature guy, experienced guy. He knows what he wants to do, and so it's a challenge.
As we kick off hour number 3 here with our friend Michael Bruntz, I want to tell you real quick about what your day should look like tomorrow, okay? You want to start off your day with the breakfast blitz here with Damon and I at the Hurrdat Sports Bar.
How about a meal?
Listen, it's a $10 breakfast buffet. You get to listen to us. You get to hang out with us. You get a great breakfast. Hard to beat. And then,
what do you think my to-go box is going to be?
It's going to be all bacon and all sausage patties. That's all Damon's going to have. And tomorrow night, if you're not out at high school football, you need to be out at Warner Park with our friends at the Omaha Storm Chasers. It's community celebration night, Hispanic Heritage Night at the Omaha Storm Chasers. That's your Friday. I just planned it all out for you. You don't got to worry about it. I mean, you probably have to do something in between those, maybe do your job or something. I don't know. But I got your morning covered. I got your evening covered. Go out to the Omaha Storm Chasers at Warner Park at 6:35 p.m. tomorrow night. Come out here 7 to 10 with Damon and I. Get that morning breakfast blitz here.
Hey, Bruntz, to heck with taking the kids to school and daycare, man. Just come on and have some breakfast.
You want me to bring them? I'll bring them. You don't want that smoke.
If they're anything like you, you're probably right. That's got to be more than a handful.
One of us will probably be wearing an Elsa dress, and I'll bring both of them, and you can figure out which one it's going to be. So,
see, Bruntz, I'm a little torn here, right? Because would love to see you. Don't want to hang out with kids.
They're entertaining, if nothing else. So yeah, I might stop. I might swing through with the kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen, get them a little breakfast buffet. You're good to go.
Hey, but seriously though, speaking of breakfast, how was the sausage and gravy?
So here's the thing. I actually went mushroom gravy with.
Is that what that was?
Yeah, that was good. That was really good. And I actually didn't eat the rest of the day. I was done after that. Between the between the mushroom biscuits and gravy, and then I sent you the picture of the coffee cup. Right?
Yeah, that was a monster.
I had 3 of those, and we were driving up to Denver, or driving up to Boulder that day, and I was shaking like I was batting in the 7th game of the World Series. That was damn good coffee.
Wait, so hold on. I gotta
listen. The picture he put his phone next to it for
like context
perspective.
Yeah,
and it was a good inch bigger than the phone, the cup.
So,
Bruntz, joke. Hopefully, the 60 ounces was a joke, but it looked like it could have been 60 ounces.
Between 3 of them, it might have been 60 ounces.
Yeah, it was like 2.5. I was like, I need to stop myself here, but it was intense. And they do the thing where you like get it yourself, and you got like, the different size mugs and things like that. But the mug that they had was legit. So that was a good rec from all your listeners.
So, Brent, I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but like I felt like I know you. I felt like we had a good relationship, and then you're telling me you went mushroom gravy instead of sausage gravy, and I'm struggling.
Yeah, we buried the lead.
I'm struggling a little bit on how you came to that decision. Just kind of walk me through how we got there. That seemed like a good idea.
When in Colorado, do what the Coloradans do.
It was literally
like these weren't magic mushrooms, right? They were just regular ass mushrooms.
They might have been. It was good. It was. I was skeptical, and the lady, the waitress, she didn't steer me wrong. I felt good about that decision. So,
okay, so this was a waitress wreck. Is that how we got there?
Two different waitress wrecks. There, because I even like mumbled under my breath. I'm like, I'm going to screw this up because there was so much good on that menu. I was like, I'm going to order something. I'm going to hate myself for ordering the wrong thing. And she's like, no, just go mushroom, trust me. And I was not led astray.
Yeah, well, it must be a 24/7 sports thing where you guys go to a breakfast and inevitably one of you won't eat breakfast meat. Like, I don't understand, but hey, to each their own, I guess.
That was a good back-to-back. That was a good back-to-back breakfast situation the last couple of weeks between the Cuban place and then the Denver Biscuit Company. We were eating well.
Yeah.
Man, don't start with the Cuban place. Damon still feels some kind of way.
This guy got plantains instead of a breakfast meat. Like, who does that? Anyway, Schaefer.
What? I didn't even recognize. I would have stopped him.
Well, that's because everything on their plates at Victor's kind of looks the same.
It's just all fried. I mean, it's
kind of all looks the same.
Fried plantain, the same as a breakfast sausage. Blind man.
Shoot! All right, but listen. So, Bruntz, like you were there, right? You're getting a feel. At what point were you kind of uncomfortable with the direction of the game? How soon did it hit you, or how late, I should say, did it hit you?
Well, here's what I think hurt Nebraska in that one. I think the way that opening drive ended, you're kind of like, okay, that's going to be tough to come back from. I mean, they moved the ball well enough there. and to come out with no points in the way that it happened, you would have felt pretty good about going down, going down and getting points there and being able to maybe build off of something a little bit. And, offensively, you're kind of like, all right, this is teetering a little bit already. A little bit of here we go again. Defensively, I want to say it was the quick turnaround where they finally got burned on the pick and then the 30-yard touchdown. That was the one where you're kind of like, okay, this is the offense needs to kind of carry its weight here a little bit, because the defense has been playing pretty well to that point. And they, even going into halftime up or down 13-0, you were still probably feeling okay about things. But, you're just kind of, with the way the offense is playing late in that second quarter, and the fact that the defense had really kind of been up against the wall so much, you were just kind of waiting for the dam to break. But I'd say kind of overall, you felt like things were teetering a bit late second quarter.
Bruntz, did you feel different at all when Sims takes the 57-yard touchdown? It's 13-7. Because I know personally, obviously the end of the first half was pretty dicey, but when that happened, I was like, I think they've got it. Did you have that moment at all, or were you still a little hesitant?
Yeah, I mean, if you get a stop there after that touchdown, I think that would have helped a ton. But I'm trying to remember the sequence. Was that the drive where they hit the deep one on Tommy Hill?
Yeah.
On third down.
Yeah, I believe so.
That one was a dagger. I mean, you had 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12, something like that, and just to have a run by like that kind of happened at a really bad time for him. So. Yeah, I mean, I felt like some of the wrinkles that they added, I guess, with the running game to start the second half, I liked them. Obviously, to get Sims loose, I thought that was a big thing. But you needed the defense to continue to play as well as they had in the first half. And I just that offense for Colorado, at some point, you're going to have a bust or a break, and that play to Hill, it just felt like a pretty big uppercut that the defense had to kind of take on the chin there.
Bruntz, at any point when you're listening to the coaching staff speak, and we heard Coach White, and it made the rounds, right? It's like, hey, we want this to be simple enough. The young guys can play, and everybody's like, oh, yes. How feasible is it to have similar concepts on offense? Because inevitably, that's what people will compare it to. But when you listen, is that realistic for you?
To get simpler on offense?
Yes.
I don't know what simpler on offense looks like.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from just under center, turning around and handing the ball off. I mean, that I don't know. I mean, you would know better than I. Concept wise, how complex this offense is. I mean, it doesn't feel to me, looking at it, like it's overly difficult. It feels like in some ways it's an execution thing, right? Like guys getting open, maintaining blocks, and guys making the right reads, as ball carriers. So, yeah, I mean, I think Nebraska needs to kind of figure out what it does well on offense, or something that it can hang its hat on, that it's not just, Jeff Sims running around back there. And I think maybe if, you want to call that simpler, or just kind of finding some repeatable key runs or pass plays, I mean, I guess that's what they got to do. But, I think in some ways, the genius of Tony White's defense is in its simplicity, because, you have 25 guys playing a ton of snaps right now. And as much as coaches talk about wanting to do that, that's a really, really difficult thing to do with the way they're doing it. So I don't know what the way forward is for the offense, but you just have to find something that, everybody feels good running. You can execute on, 2nd and 4, 3rd and short, 1st and 10, whatever. And I guess, through 2 games, I just don't know that they've really found what that is yet.
Bruntz, looking at Northern Illinois, I feel like this has a lot more to do with Nebraska than it does the Huskies, and I don't think that's taking a shot at them or anything. What are some of the things that you want or need to see to think, hey, from week 1 to week 2 to week 3, Nebraska's getting better?
Yeah, I mean, I think special teams, I'll start there. You just need to be more consistent. I mean, I think that was a little bit of a disappointment at Colorado, was that really wasn't a positive for Nebraska at all. I mean, I'm not really sure where things are at with Brian Buschini, but I mean, I was surprised at the way that he punted in that game. You got to figure out a way to make sure that stays steady and trending in a positive direction. Offensively, against a team like Northern Illinois, they've got a good front on defense. You're going to be challenged there, but you just have to kind of assert your will a little bit against a team like this. I mean, and I think that's kind of what everybody's been looking for from this offensive line is, okay, they've been, I would say, okay. I don't think they're not at the top of the punching bag list this year, which I don't know that that's a great thing with how things have gone. But, I want to see that group take a step of, being able to just run the ball against a team like Northern Illinois and really lean on them. Of course, that, will depend on what the quarterback position looks like this weekend. But that's what I'll be watching is, offensively, can you just go out, do what you're going to do and just, do it cleanly, because, just aside from just not being able to execute, it's a little thing. I mean, getting guys in and out, substitutions, executing snaps, things like that. Doing that, somewhat, repetitively, I would count as progress coming out of this game.
Bruntz, you mentioned the quarterback position. I don't know how much information you have as far as Jeff Sims' status or anything like that, but if you just had to guess, do you think we see him on Saturday?
I don't know. Yesterday when you're on Wednesday and you hear a coach say a guy's going to kind of do what he can, that doesn't sound very confident to me that he's going to be part of the game plan a ton. We'll hear from Matt Rhule here in about an hour or so as to kind of where things stand. But I think you also have to be very careful, just kind of taking a 500-foot view to make sure that you're not costing Jeff Sims more time on the back end of this, just to get him in for Northern Illinois. So, if it is Harburg, I think they're not going to have to do a lot to change the offense to accommodate him. Certainly he's more of a runner. The coaches have said that, but I mean, I guess I haven't seen, overly, complex passing things that they have in their offense. So I think they'd be okay with Harburg out there. And I just think you have to be really careful to not have Jeff Sims against Michigan or Illinois because you're rushing him back and trying to get too much out of him now if he's not ready.
So, Bruntz, when you're in, can we talk about this game without talking about the quarterback play in terms of how it looks going into? Can we just wait and see? Can we be good enough around it? You talked about special teams. We talked about the defense. We talked about, a little bit about what Lombardi and what Northern Illinois, how they want to play. Is it a sign one way or the other if we're still focused on the quarterback play after this game?
I don't know. It's a good question. To me, the quarterback is going to get a lot of kind of an outsized amount of attention anyways. And just kind of the way the first two games have played out. I mean, I think, that it's probably correct to focus a lot of attention on that. You would hope that, you're good enough, like you said, in other areas to maybe not have to make this game completely about who's out there starting at quarterback. I mean, that's a big piece of it, but, you would hope that this is a game where you can say, okay, we're going to, ride Gabe Irvin, Ramir Johnson, Anthony Grant as much as we can. You get the tight ends involved in an intermediate passing game. Maybe you're, on defense, you're able to get a couple turnovers that you've been really close to getting the first 2 weeks. So I don't know. I mean, in some ways it is a test, I think, of your overall team and your ability to play complementary football. I mean, that's been one of the buzzwords all of fall camp and the early part of the season, right? Is how do you, how do you get a defense that works with this offense and special teams to be a positive for you? This might be a test of kind of where you're at with all that. And if this defense is as good as people think they are, and at least what they've shown statistically in the first 2 games, maybe this is a game where you can lean on them a little bit more, and especially against a team that, they beat Boston College on the road, but has also shown that they're willing to give up some turnovers as well.
We're talking with Michael Bruntz of Husker 24/7. Bruntz, is there any chance, and let me finish the whole question before we jump to a conclusion here. Is there any chance that a short-term Jeff Sims injury is a little bit of a blessing in disguise from the standpoint of, like Damon says a lot of times, QB run game can make a play caller a little lazy, especially if it's working. Does it give Satterfield an opportunity to not only find out what the backup quarterback situation really is with live action, but also maybe try and do some of those things, whether it's taking shots downfield or maybe getting his running backs into a better rhythm because he can't rely on Jeff Sims' running game?
Yeah, that's a good thought. I'm glad I waited for the whole question. That's good. Yeah.
I mean, it could come off a certain way with the start of it, so I just wanted to preface.
No, I was waiting for the comma in there, but no, that's good. That's a good thought, and I think there's probably some truth to it, right? I mean, if you're thinking that you can count on your quarterback to get you 5 on 3rd and 4, you got to be a little bit more creative, and in some ways too, right? I mean, it also, not just from the play calling point of view, but just from the teammates around him, it also forces those guys to kind of answer the bell a little bit. It's if you're a running back and it's probably going to be you on 3rd and short, it's an opportunity for guys to step up and kind of be counted on. I think in some ways too, the timing of the injury, it's a little fortuitous in some ways too, because it changes the conversation, right? Like if Jeff Sims is completely healthy, people are having a completely different conversation this week, I think, versus what we have now. I mean, now it's not a matter of should he start? It's a matter of can he, and that's a much different kind of conversation to have out there in the ether versus whether or not you're going to bring in the backup quarterback and you get into confidence things with the starting quarterback and everything else. So the timing of it is interesting, and I think it is a little bit of an opportunity in some ways, perhaps fortuitously, to try something different here.
Michael Bruntz from Husker 24/7. Bruntz, we appreciate you. We'll talk to you again next week.
Pleasure. Talk to you guys then.
Thanks, B.
Really enjoy that dude. Michael Bruntz.
He's a funny dude.
Terrific dude. Known him forever.
Can you just see the kiddos just like bellied up?
I know, just like just
That's
some
what you
bacon,
wanted? Huh?
Get some
You
bacon
like
and
this?
sausage
Huh?
in there. No, Bruntz is a terrific dude. Known that he's known me since I was like in early middle school.
The
Really?
3-inch
Yeah,
Bill
I think
Callahan.
so. I think
When you were wearing like the knockoff shoes and
yeah,
you
back
gotta-
when I couldn't afford like Jinkos and stuff like that.
I don't know. I mean,
See, that was after your time of like
what
being
was it again?
Jinkos, Jinko jeans. They were like those super baggy ones that people were wearing back in like the late 90s.
it's kind of a lazy parent pick, right?
They were like those ones that had like the huge legs and like it was like a skater look.
No, I probably seen them. I didn't know that's what they called
Yeah,
them.
they were called Jinko. It was like JNCO. It was like a brand.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And like everybody in middle school wore those. And my mom's like, A, you're not wearing those.
Mm-hmm.
And B, they're too expensive. We're not buying those. So I was rocking my Target jeans.
Yeah. I know about that. I think we were Richmond Gordman and we did Half Price. Where else was our
I thought we had made it.
I think Montgomery Wards. We'd go to Montgomery.
I thought
Wards
we
too.
had made it when I could start buying Old Navy jeans. Like I was like, oh, we rich now. You know what's funny though?
Old Navy used to be my jam.
Dude, Old Navy had cool stuff.
Yeah.
You know what's funny though?
You get like 18 things for like $31.
I go out of my way to go shop at Target now.
Yeah. Well,
They got cooler stuff now than they
go
used to.
into Target without a game plan.
You can't, otherwise you leave without any of your money.
They got a lot.
Yeah. No, but they have this. Target has this clothing brand now. It's called like Goodfellow, I think.
Yeah.
They make the jeans that stretch a little bit. I love them. Because then, because I got, I'm a bigger guy.
Yeah.
You gotta move out.
The elastic waist.
Yeah, they got well, it's not just the waist. They like put it in the actual like pant legs and stuff. So if you got big legs, they stretch a little bit with you.
Oh, okay.
It's nice. Yeah,
it's a Target thing.
So I need to go there.
Yeah, because Shane's hulking out over here. You gotta be careful with him.
It took you 2 months to find the right boots, man.
Listen, he's very particular about his boots.
I am very particular about that. Yes.
I'm particular about my shoes, but more the way they look. I'm just trying. I'm a form over function guy, when it comes to my shoes. Some of them are workout shoes, man. I will wear the ugliest workout shoes just because they're comfortable.
Yeah, I got some old man Nikes that I wear. Dates me about 71, 72, maybe. Kids
I'm wearing like dad.
They always make fun of me, asking me if I'm going mowing. I'm like,
yeah, I'm wearing like dad mowing shoes to work out.
I stand out here a long time with you guys.
They're so comfortable though. I wear them like I have bought 3 pairs and I don't even need them.
I've worn bad shoes for coaching.
I buy them ahead of time. Oh no, because you're standing up.
It's a wrap,
dude. I've been on the sideline just walking around.
It's a wrap.
And if I'm not wearing good shoes, my back is killing me when I'm done. It's terrible.
I've been there.
So I used to always sit when I coach basketball. You know how head coaches always kind of like they're up and around and whatever, doing whatever. I'm sitting there like this pretty much the whole time. Unless I need to say something, then I get up and I start saying something. And I sit right back down.
Did you decide where you're going tomorrow?
Where I'm going? Oh, for high school football?
Yep.
I haven't yet because I really want to see you guys again.
You got Gretna North South. You got us and your alma mater.
Kind of. Yeah. See, that's the thing is it's Miller North and West Side. It's
you go Miller North.
I might have a hard time not going to that game, but Gretna Millard South is probably the best game.
Yeah.
So I'm still trying to decide here.
I'm very curious about that one.
All right, coming up next, we've got the Zipline Sports 6-pack here on Benning and Lulla.
We'll be right back in 5 minutes. We'll be right back in 4 minutes. We'll be right back in 3 minutes. We'll be right back in 2 minutes. We'll be right back in 1 minute. We'll be right back in 30 seconds. Hurrdat Sports presents the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla. Time now for the Sports Six-Pack, presented by Zipline Brewing Company, makers of Dear Old Nebraska Brew, the official beer of Nebraska alumni.
Here we go with the Zipline Sports Six-Pack on a Thursday. I want to tell you a little bit about Dear Old Nebraska Brew, though, from Zipline. Designed by and for University of Nebraska alumni. It's an easy drinking American lager, perfect for tailgating and enjoying the good life in all kinds of weather. It's beautiful outside. I think it's going to be nice on Saturday. Grab some Dear Old Nebraska Brew before the Nebraska game. Available in cans and on draft. Ask for it at your favorite Husker bar.
That sounds like a good time.
All right, Shano, let's crack open one of those Dear Old Nebraska brews as we get this six-pack going.
Question number 1.
From Brandon on Twitter. I don't even know what Twitter is. Which do you think is closer to happening? Nebraska's offense cuts down on their turnovers, or Nebraska defense starts creating more turnovers?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Brandon, very nice on Twitter, had some nice things to say about the show. We appreciate you, Brandon. Also asked a really good question.
That's good.
So I actually think it's both. But I think the one that happens first is the defense creates more turnovers, because I think when you put that much pressure on the quarterback, the direct result is often turnovers, whether it's strip sack fumbles, whether you're forcing them into bad decisions. Shedeur Sanders is a really talented quarterback, so they didn't turn into turnovers for him. But I think against lesser...
And Lombardi's coming into this with 1 touchdown and 3 picks, I think.
Yes. So with the pressure they're going to put on Lombardi, I think they could start racking up some turnovers, because I like what the defense is doing in pressuring the quarterback.
But it's just so easy.
It is.
To catch a ball than it is to... It's easier to catch a snap, for instance, than it is to take the ball away from somebody.
Like it's easier to clean up some of the real simple stuff that they've been messing up on offense.
That's a good question.
But I think the defense is already executing the things that will lead to turnovers. I don't think the offense is executing those things yet.
So, like, what if the offense only turned the ball over once? What's more likely, the offense only turns the ball over once and the defense doesn't get any? Or
I mean, that's a common scenario, right?
I
think the defense is getting 2 on Saturday.
I'll take the defense. I don't feel good about it, though. I think the offense may clean it up.
That's why it's a good question.
It is.
Next one, Shane.
It's a very good question.
Question number 2.
That should have won him a prize or something.
Who is your favorite bad athlete?
So who's the guy that you like kind of glommed onto that wasn't actually that good? I have a deep cut for you.
Go ahead.
Willie Mopena.
Weird.
I loved Willie Mopena.
Is that like you're trying to root for him to be better? I mean,
no, it's like if you find a guy like when he's kind of young and you either think he's going to be good or you just like the way he carries himself or whatever. Like Willie Mopena was like Pedro Serrano from Major League, had prodigious power, could not hit a breaking ball to save his life. But if you threw him a fastball, I literally saw him hit a ball over the truck in Kansas City.
I got one, and weird, it's a baseball guy.
Yeah.
Guy by the name of Mike Marshall.
Mike Marshall.
He used to play for the Dodgers.
Okay.
Wore number 5. Played the outfield and first base.
Okay.
He was a right-handed hitter. I kind of liked his stance.
Yeah.
And I always felt like if I was built like that, you should be able to hit a ball better.
Okay.
But for sure, Mike Marshall. That's a really deep cut.
That is
you
a
have to
deep
be
cut.
You have to be an old Dodgers fan to
know that one.
To know that, but yeah, Mike Marshall.
I can't tell you how excited I was when the Red Sox signed Willie Mopena for like a year.
It's got a cool name.
Great name, and God, when he hit the ball, it was incredible.
Yeah.
But that was a big if.
It's weird to say he's not a good athlete, but
I mean it's relative, right? Relative.
I had a weird affinity for Levon Kirkland too.
Okay.
Yeah, Kirkland.
All right.
You know, because he always seemed to be defying physics.
I'm a big Kirkland brand guy.
Yeah, you like Costco.
Yeah.
Oh boy. I see it working. Shano?
Question number 3.
If you could have one of the following at no cost, what would it be? Housekeeper, driver, private chef, or personal assistant?
At no cost?
Yeah, so somebody else is paying for it. You're not having like unpaid labor. Somebody else is picking up the tab. I know which one you should pick. I don't know which one you will pick.
I'm going to go with the personal chef.
Oh, that's not the right answer.
Driver?
For you, you need a personal assistant.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
You need somebody to keep your life together.
But I don't want that. I'll figure that out first. Yeah, that's
the one you should pick.
God, I could have picked 3 of those. Really.
Right? That's what I was. So I go housekeeper.
Housekeeper.
I'm not good at like I don't even see like because it's not a messy house, but I clutter a little. I don't even see it. Like it doesn't even register to me. It's like, oh, that needs to be picked up.
Oh gosh, yeah, we couldn't hang out.
We can hang out. We just can't live together.
Yeah. I would probably take the chef, but you're right. I do need.
I think the one you need the most is a personal assistant.
100%.
That's why I threw it in there because I was interested to see if you'd actually pick
100%.
I'm going housekeeper though.
If I'm being honest, I need that.
Wouldn't it be nice to never have to clean the bathroom again?
See, that's why I went housekeeper. Like it takes something off my plate that I'm not even good at, which I appreciate.
I'm a big don't let it get there in the first place guy.
So is Natasha. Like she's really, my wife is very good about it. And I try and be helpful, but I legit have such a hard time.
Does she just look at you and roll her eyes?
Even seeing it. I have to have her make me a list like I'm a kid.
Oh, well,
because I
get it.
I just don't see it. I'm like, I don't even understand that that's dirty and needs
I don't
done.
I don't make fun of people's ineptitude.
If you had a good housekeeper,
I'm the king of need a list.
If you had a good housekeeper, that person would probably not let it get there in the first place.
That's true. That's true. And if somebody else is picking up the tab, they can be there every day.
Question number 4.
Are you buying the Longhorns?
Yes, I am.
They looked better than Alabama.
Dude,
like it didn't look fluky. It looked like they were better than Alabama.
They mauled them up front along that offensive line.
It wasn't smoke and mirrors. Like that was real.
Yeah, I'm buying Texas.
I am too. I'm not saying they're going to win a national title.
I'm not either.
But the things that they have in place are real.
They're kind of nasty.
Yeah, they look built like they're ready to play in the SEC.
Yeah, I'm buying Texas.
I'm in. I listen. I'm not a Sark guy. I thought that
I'm
was
not either.
a bad hire. He's actually never been that successful as a head coach.
Did you see how the old line was coming off the ball?
Yeah, they did a good job.
Yeah, I'm buying Texas.
Shane? I think Shane's on the phone. Okay. I'll ask the next question. That's fine.
Shane's talking I think Shane's talking to Uncle Johnny.
Oh, there we go. Number 5. What is the last movie you watched?
Olympus Has Fallen.
That's right. We talked about that just a minute ago.
I just watched it last night.
So
First time I'd ever seen it.
I started to watch the program yesterday. I only got a few minutes in before the wife came home. We had to get dinner and stuff like that. But last movie I watched in full was Air. Have you seen that movie?
Oh, with the shoe deal?
Yeah.
No.
I like that type of movie. I like I call them low stakes movies where like the drama at stake is like, is he going to get a shoe deal or not? Like that's not the world's ending because it doesn't stress me out.
Oh gosh.
Plus, no, it's like it's well written. There's a lot. I like dialogue movies too. Like I like the talking.
I watched Olympus Has Fallen last night.
Pretty good.
It was really good.
Well, you're a Gerard Butler guy, right?
Very much.
Because you like 300 and
That's an excellent movie.
Law-Abiding Citizen
and Olympus.
No, Law-Abiding Citizen's low key pretty good.
Way good.
Pretty good movie.
Yeah.
I've
never seen it before. I didn't like it. The Eckhart guy that played
Aaron
Asher.
Eckhart.
Yeah.
Two-Face.
Yeah.
Have you seen Thank You for Smoking?
No.
Pretty good movie.
Is it?
He plays like a lobbyist for Big Tobacco. It's a pretty good movie.
I'm not sitting through that.
It's entertaining. All right, we're on number 6, Shane.
Question number 6.
What non-Nebraska game are you looking forward to most this weekend?
Michigan State and Washington, probably.
Yeah, it's kind of a dog baby of games this weekend.
It's not a great slate, but I do want to see what's going on
in Michigan State.
In East Lansing.
That's totally fair. I think
the irony of bringing
Mike D'Antonio
back
is horrifying.
I'll give you a low-key good one, though.
What's that?
BYU and Arkansas.
Ooh, that is a good one. I'm kind of looking. I mean, listen, I don't think Florida's that good, but I don't know if Tennessee's that good either. I'm kind of interested to see Tennessee, Florida.
Yeah. You see confirmation?
On one or the other.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
Coming up next, we've got a guy who won a little thing called the Heisman Trophy, Johnny Rodgers, Nebraska great, coming up next on Benning and Lulla.
We will be back in 4 minutes. We will be back in 3 minutes. We will be back in 2 minutes. We will be back in 1 minute. We will be back in 30 seconds. Hurrdat Sports presents the Damon Benning Show with Ravi Lulla.
Here's Wiley's kick, gets high. It holds up there. Rodgers takes the ball at the 30. He's hit and got away. Back upfield to the 35, to the 40. He's to the 45. He's to the 50, to the 45, to the 40, to the 35, to the 20, to the 10. He's all the way home. Holy moly. Man, woman, and child did that. Put them in the aisles. Johnny the Jet Rodgers just tore them loose from their shoe.
Wrapping up the show here on a Thursday, and I want to tell you about our friends at Dingman's Collision Center. They have 4 great Omaha area locations, locally owned and operated. It's a family business. They have been best of Omaha 18 years in a row, and they will take care of you, whatever your car, make, and model. And they take care of the community with their give back program. Make sure you check them out at dingmans.com. Speaking of the community, one of Omaha's own and a Heisman Trophy winner is joining us now, Johnny Rodgers. Johnny, how are you this morning?
And your number one fan.
What's up, Uncle? How we doing?
All right, buddy. My man, I am so proud of you, buddy.
I appreciate that.
I tell you, you're one of the best they got out there now. All right.
Thank you. Hey, so.
Well, I'm doing fine. Doing fine. Everything's going great. Just hoping that we're about time for us to get it going in the right direction. But sometimes you have to take a step back to get a running start, Damon.
Yeah, so it's interesting because you've seen multiple. I've seen you out there. You kind of got a good feel for the staff. You like the direction, kind of the culture building based on what you've seen? Like, what are your thoughts there?
Well, I really like the players. I really think that we got true talent. The players are impressive to me. I see big ones, strong ones. They seem to be well conditioned.
Yeah.
I've talked to Coach Rhule, the great guy. He's come to my Jet Award and spoke. We get along very well. My only issue now is just winning, and I don't think winning is everything, Damon. But here in Nebraska, we rate it right up there with oxygen. It's pretty darn important.
So, Johnny, you mentioned how important winning is, but most of the time, winning is the result of something else. It's the symptom. It's not the root cause. In your opinion, is Nebraska figuring out the root cause to get back to winning?
Well, in my personal opinion, I think that we put a lot of emphasis on building a long-term process when I'm seeing right now with the transfer portal and all the different things that are going on, it's possible and plausible to put more emphasis on winning now. I mean, you can build a program a heck of a lot quicker with the type of resources that we have today than we could back in the 70s. I think it's a belief thing. If you believe you can, or if you believe you can't, wherever you believe, you're probably going to be right, because I really do believe that we got the talent. I think Jeff Sims and Anthony Grant, I think they're the right people. I think they believe they're the right people. It's just about for the whole team to get it together at the same time, where everybody believes we the right people, and this is the right time, and we are the one.
Hey, Johnny, you were part of a turnaround, right? A culture shift.
Right.
So I get it. It starts with the coaches. At what point do the players have to have ownership in that? Because you saw it firsthand.
Well, right there from the beginning, when the players believe, and I think they were telling us, they told me that if I were to come to Nebraska, that I could really make a difference, and we could go on to be something and be great and be winners. I think they told that to everybody that they recruited. So when we got there, we all expected to do that. When I ran into Richie Glover, the same thing he was talking, Darryl White, that's what he was talking, Willie Harper, that's what he was talking. And that's what we came really to do. And that's why we came, because we believed that we could make the difference. So when we got there, everybody had that mindset that individually you could make a difference. So collectively, we were on the same page.
Johnny, you and Damon have both brought up interesting things here. Damon was talking about when do players kind of take on a leadership role. You were talking about how Nebraska, you think, has the talent to win. Do you think you have to recruit players that already have that leadership as well as the talent, or is that something you can teach and instill in some of these young guys?
Well, I think you can do all of it. I think you're supposed to do all of it. We had guys who came in, junior college transfers and things, were kind of the same thing as a portal transfer, that came in and really made an impact. So I think you have to take advantage of all your advantages, because you don't really know what at the time you have to be willing to make changes, because the only thing that's consistent is change, and things are changing. But we got to keep that. The biggest thing is that you have to believe that you are there to win. And so that will minimize a lot of mistakes when you really believe that you're not supposed to make them, you're not going to make them, you're there to win. And that is the mindset. And everybody has to get that buy-in. And I think the players seem to me to have the buy-in. That's what they want to do. And our coaching staff, I hope that that's the same way that they're really going, because we can't. It doesn't do us any good to build another 3-year program and then we change the program in 3 or 4 years from now, like we've been doing since for the last 20 years.
Hey, Johnny, behind the scenes, you get along with Trev really well. And how important do you think the athletic department and kind of their vision has been to kind of help shape the culture?
Well, I think Trev is really trying to take it into the right direction. I think Matt Rhule has the potential to do it. I'm not that familiar with the staff, and you're only as good as your staff, the people you got. So I'm still investigating like the different position coaches and what they're kind of promoting mentally, because we can work on, like I said, they look like great physical specimens, but it's a mental game. If you're not willing mentally to use your resources and the things that you have, God's given you to the fullest. I mean, when you want to be a world-class team, then you have to really get the mindset of world-class players. And I think if you come here out of high school and from your freshman year on, you're ready to be world-class. And most guys' biggest dream is to go to the pros. If you can establish that mindset, you are there. Then people see you, and you use that and transfer right on in to the next level.
Johnny, before we get you out of here, I understand you've got a new podcast rocking. I think I'm doing my math here. I think you've got the podcast with the most combined national titles of anybody going between you and T. Fraze over there. What can you tell us about your new endeavor with Tommy Frazier?
Well, I'm on with the Tommy Touchdown Frazier. We call our deal The Run. We're trying just to give a player's position, just like you're basically doing. But he and I both were able to win. So we both kind of know from different perspectives what it really takes to get it done, because everybody's trying to get it done. Everybody expects to get it done. But it's time we get it done. I mean, I think people here in Nebraska have been very patient with our program. Everybody here wants to win. We're still the best traveled team here going. I went to the Colorado game last week, and we had quite a few people for representing Nebraska. We're still behind the program. We just need to bring coaches and players in that have that same mindset, that want to see that we will back them in what they're doing, but they got to put out and we got to win. You know, it's just the time is now, and we are the ones, and we need it bad.
What makes you what got you interested in podcasts? That's what I want to know. Like, it doesn't seem like you have that much free time.
Well, I don't have a lot of free time, but I do have an interest in what we're doing, and I do know about football.
Yeah.
And it's a community type thing, and trying to keep the community together and going on the right track. And a lot of people really don't know what they're seeing out there, technically speaking. So it's sometimes you have to give a voice to different things. And I could take a couple hours out of my week in the football, since I've already given it 50 years of my life.
Guys, do you look 50 years, right? It's like, how about a round of applause? And still like all in as ever.
Well, I'm still here in Nebraska. I've been to Montreal and San Diego, and I love them both. But they're still, like they said, there's no place like home. And I've been a big part of the program when I was born, starting off in the Valley, and I feel committed to the program. And so I have to hang in here, because it's not because it's something I want to do. It's something I feel I must do, because we got to get it going in the right direction. And I think that people like you and me and Tommy, that speaking out and giving our ideas, whether we're right or wrong, everybody knows clearly that it's coming from our heart, and so we mean it well.
Johnny, I got to ask you, if Tommy ever gets out of line a little bit, I know you guys are tied on national titles, but you got the one up on Heisman. You ever use that as a trump card a little bit there? Be like, Tommy, I know what I'm talking about, my guy.
No, I never use it on him. He's been around a long time. But
and he probably deserved one too, right?
Hey, listen, you guys both have something in common, though. When your teams got in trouble, both you guys got the ball.
Well, Tommy knows football, and like I said, he's got a couple of great runs out there, and I got a couple. Together we make a pretty good team, and we're trying to build our audience of listeners out there that just want to hear a different perspective of what's going on.
Okay, Johnny,
good stuff.
Real quick, let us know, because you're going to be doing a live show right here at Hurrdat Sports Bar, right?
Oh yeah, we come in there to make your knees squeeze and your liver quiver, put more glide in your stride and more dip in your hip. Y'all got the wrong address.
And you're going to be here tonight, right?
Tonight. It's be on like butter popcorn.
What is wrong with you? All right. We'll see you later on.
That is the one, only Johnny Rodgers. He is certainly a unique character. We appreciate his time for sure.
If nothing else, they'll have fun.
Real quick, man, come out here to Hurrdat. Get your Rockbrook camera while you're out there. Go to rockbrookcamera.com, 168th and Center, 70th and Pioneer. Maybe take some pictures of a couple of 4 national championships in the same picture tonight at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. I'm Ravi Lulla, Damon Benning. We'll see you tomorrow for the Breakfast Blitz here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill.